afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
There's a lot to talk about today, St. Louis. Let's get the conversation started. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
J.B. Pritzker thinks the road to the White House runs through Illinois like I-55. So can Darren Bailey be the roadblock to stop J.B. Pritzker from inflicting on the entire country what he's done to Illinois? Well, that remains to be seen, but we did talk to Darren on Wednesday's show. Hey, good morning, Mike Ferguson. We're going to play that for you here in just a second. A lot of ground to cover today. Thank you to everybody who came out last night to the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet. We're going to get kind of an update and an assessment of that from our friend Steve Rupp at Missouri Right to Life a little bit later on today, but also talk about the momentum that needs to be set to pass the good Amendment 3 later this year as well. All right, but we talked to, that's the Missouri side, we talked to Darren Bailey yesterday, like I said, GOP nominee for governor, the man who wants to take on J.B. Pritzker again. Can he actually win? All the pundits say, oh, no, it's a blue state, he can't win. But is that actually true? Well, if you look at what's happened to the state, when have Illinois voters had enough? Maybe this is the year. Here's our conversation with Darren Bailey.
Let me start talking. Well, I want to talk about the economy stuff in just a second. But at this point, we can't not talk about the impact of public safety and crime in the state. Everything that so many people were warning was going to happen with J.B. Pritzker and the Illinois Democrats' approach to crime and public safety and prosecution, it's coming to fruition in almost cartoonish ways. It would be funny if it weren't so dangerous. I mean, at one point we're talking about in one area, something like 10, 12% of those with ankle monitors missing, just gone, and committing other crimes. This was entirely predictable. At what point do people get the message that public safety is one of those few critical aspects of government, and J.B. Pritzker's approach just has to be done away with?
Well, good morning, and it's an honor to be here with you today. And you're exactly right. This argument of the Safety Act, I mean, it's went beyond what we thought could actually happen. And I think the bottom line is to realize history, which under J.B. Pritzker's rule is not accurately necessarily being taught in our public schools anymore. But when you understand your history, you understand that one of the ways to tear down a constitutional republic is to create lawlessness. And that's exactly what's taking place here. And I'm telling you, the people up here in Chicago, they're tired, they're fed up, and they're scared, and they're concerned. Just there isn't a week that goes by without a needless death. These stores who are closing because they can't afford to stay open, creating hardships in the most needed areas. So the time is right. People are fed up. We've just got to simply remind them that, hey, you can change this if you simply show up and vote. And unfortunately, that has become a problem in this nation and state as well. So that's our goal, to get people out to vote, because I think they finally realized what the problem is. We just got to coach them along to help them understand and remember how to fix the problem.
Good morning, Darren. This is Susie Moore. I just saw yesterday there's another Walgreens leaving Chicago, I think, on the south side. And so, we're seeing business after business fold up and say we don't want to be a part of that. So that's got to be reaching, at least on some level, the voters in the Chicago area, not just, downstate Illinois, outstate Illinois, which is reliably red. Obviously, it's a numbers game from when we're talking about the election itself. How do you reach those voters who aren't traditionally Republican voters or who are traditionally Democrat voters but might be open to being peeled off because of these issues?
Well, as soon as we finish up talking here, I'm going to be headed to City Hall to participate in their public comment time. Being in their churches, just reaching out to them, because the craziness of all this, the political class, the people who have always been elected, the people that the only time they show up to their community, the only time they show up to their churches is election time. They're blaming the Walgreens closing, the CVS closings. They're blaming all this on corporate greed. That's how they spin this. Not to mention that, I've been in those stores up here. You cannot buy a tube of toothpaste without having to go get someone to unlock it from the glass cabinet for you. So, getting out to the people like we're doing every day from 6 a.m. to midnight. We're out here speaking to groups. It's boots on the ground. It's a lot of hard work. It's tiring, but it has to be done. It's been done in the past, and I think we can save this state again.
We are visiting with Darren Bailey, Republican nominee for governor in Illinois. Now, one of the things that's obviously affecting everybody, and the war in Iran has so much to do with the price of gas going up, but Illinois taxes gas, among other things, at such extreme rates. And this isn't anything new. When I was in Illinois, and I grew up in Illinois, when I was in high school, Darren, we knew. We went into Quincy, just jump across the river to fill up your gas. And this was in the 80s. So Illinois has a long history of taxing things and making them more expensive. But what can be done, if anything, at the state level to keep something like fuel more affordable? Or is this entirely a federal issue?
No, this tax situation is entirely a state issue. But again, in the same manner, all that J.B. Pritzker can do is just Trump and Iran and blame the problem of this current recent spike in gas prices on President Trump. So all that does is just prove to the fact that, yes, he is running for president. But what I will do literally first day in office is suspend the gas tax for 6 months. It's just no questions asked. People need relief up here in Chicago, this whole Chicago Bears Stadium, data centers, whatever we're talking about. You know what? We don't make any more deals here in Illinois until we create better, affordable situations for the people who are living, who are working, and who are paying their taxes. So July 1st in Illinois, they're going to start taxing rewards on your credit cards here in Illinois. So this is a machine that cannot get enough. It feeds off of the people and without any relief. So no, the gas tax has to be suspended and hopefully in time done away with. Working class people and unions ask, well, gosh, where's the money going to come from? The money's there. This budget in the last 8 years has grown from a $32 billion budget to a $56 billion budget. There is so much waste and mess spending within that. We just need to rein it in, get smart about it, prioritize it, and I believe that's how we're going to get Illinois on a better track.
Well, and that was going to be my follow-up is, obviously the gas tax is there for roads and bridges and stuff like that. Are the funds there, if you suspend the gas tax, that you could still keep the road construction and maintenance, highway construction and maintenance going at the pace it needs to be?
Yes, there's $3 billion sitting there right now. People forget that in 2025, J.B. Pritzker pulled $2.5 billion out of the gas tax fund or out of the budget to give people who are here illegally free insurance, free food, free housing. People forget that back in October, the General Assembly decided in their wisdom to pull $1.5 billion for downstate infrastructure out of the gas tax fund and send it to bail CTA out without anyone asking CTA, what we've got to do to get their profitability back on track. So, it's just, there is nothing that makes business sense. There is no common sense. It's just reckless tax and spend here in Illinois.
Darren, we've talked about the crime issue, and then you also referenced the situation with, funding illegal immigration, that sort of thing. We had this horrible situation just a month and a half, 2 months ago with Sheridan Gorman being killed, murdered there in the Chicago area. And that, I think, probably really caught a lot of people's attention and really drew some focus on the policies, the sanctuary city policies that are pursued in Chicago and by the state. What are you hearing from voters on that issue?
Well, they are scared. They are frustrated. And shortly after that, Officer Bartholomew was killed, in a hospital. Apprehending, taking someone in who had broken the law. And it's needless. And they are frustrated. there's a sense of apathy that has set in, and people feel hopeless in this state and in this nation. And that reflects on our voter turnout. So therein lies the work of just simply getting out and say, friends, you have a choice. Things can be different, but you have to show up and exercise this not right, but duty to vote. If we make that happen this upcoming November, Illinois is on a new track. But yes, people are frustrated and angry, but they forget about this constitutional duty to vote, that they can indeed make changes, because up here in Chicagoland, just things have been messy for so long. Just so many political promises, political lies, taking advantage of the people. And we just got to do the hard work and convince the residents of Illinois and Chicago that there's a new day dawning. What do you have to lose? Vote for something different. Show up and vote. And we are getting some pretty amazing response to that.
Yeah, I want to talk about the turnout. We just got a minute or so left here. Darren Bailey running for governor of Illinois. And, I lived in Pittsfield and, Decatur and Camp Point and Quincy. And so my childhood, my youth was all Illinois. And there's this detachment from downstate Illinois and Chicago. They almost look at it like it's just a whole separate thing, forgetting almost that it's in the entire state. And I think there's a feeling with all of my friends in Illinois and people that when I'm there constantly, that are just saying, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And there's this sort of detachment. Chicago runs the state, the Democrats run it, even though if you look at county by county, there's more red than blue. What is that message to get to people other than, well, you just have to show up, because people need to feel that there is a chance to win, because you've got all sorts of national mainstream media saying, well, this is all wrapped up. There's no chance. Democrats just own it all. But the numbers aren't as far off as what a lot of people realize. So what's realistic in this state? And then what is it that's going to have to happen to get people to show up to vote? Because if you're told there's no point, then there's a lot of people who think there's no point, even if there is a point and a possibility.
No, thank you very much for that. And I think this next 5 months, as we continue to get out and message, I think every day as J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson continue to fail Illinois, I think that in the next few weeks, as this budget process unfolds, and who knows whatever taxes or whatever they're going to dream up in Springfield, I think just day by day, putting people's focus back on state, back on Illinois, instead of focusing on what's taking place in D.C., just messaging. That's how we get this out. I'm telling you, the people in Chicago are fed up. They need someone to bring all of Illinois together, to bring them together. And I think I'm that person, downstate farmer, and what life's dealt us the last 8 months. I've got the compassion. I've got the wherewithal. I've got the team. We've got the means. And I got the work ethic. And I've certainly stood up and said what needed to be said and did what needs to be done in times when that's happened. So I'm proven, and that's what we need. We need somebody to show up to the governor's office and not forget about the problems of Illinois, not forget about, whatever they talked about in the campaign, and actually get something done. And that's what I intend to bring to the table. And anyone out there that wonders, well, what is your plan? Go to blueprintforillinois.com and you'll see our plan and check us out and join us. And yes, Illinois is a great state, and I believe we will be the catalyst to turning even this nation around when we get our act together.
Okay, so let me say that website, blueprintforillinois.com, and then obviously is there a separate campaign, or is that the new campaign website?
Well, that links you in there, but dailyforillinois.com. That's where you can look at our calendar. You can invite us to events. You can join us as a volunteer, or you can certainly do what's important as well, is donate and keep this machine running. So thank you very much for that.
All right, 314-912-1019. You got some friends or family in Illinois, just go to the News Talk STL podcast, look up Mike Ferguson in the morning, and you can send that to them with a couple clicks on your phone or on your computer. They really need to hear that. Hey, tomorrow is Flashback Friday, as you know, so today's going to be that last call to get your 80s Flashback Friday bump music request in, and Jerome is kind of playing around with the idea of, were there any, political, social commentary or protest songs in the 80s? And I actually thought of several when he said that, and the thing is that a lot of people didn't realize that they were sending some kind of message of protest or something like that. They were just popular on the charts. So what comes to your mind? Send that in to Jerome, and you may just hear it on Flashback Friday right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
Don't always agree, but in love listening to your radio station.
This is tyrannical stuff they're doing.
Elections have consequences.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey guys, don't miss Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. where we talk about so many areas, including AI, law, and health. We have some fantastic guests on my show. Don't forget, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m., Straight Lines with Elizabeth Kaiser.
Stand and fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight.
Stand and fight with Nick Schroer. Sunday nights at 6.
Only on News Talk STL.
When the storm hits and a tree comes down, you need someone you can trust right now. OLI Outdoor Services in Godfrey is on call 24/7 for emergency tree removal, trimming, stump grinding, and land clearing. Serving Illinois and Missouri with licensed, insured professionals and over 200 years of combined experience. Tree removal starting at just $2.99. Free estimates, plus financing. Visit OLIOutdoorServices.com or call 1-888-5-SAWING.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know what's always fun these days?
What's that?
Let's talk about data centers.
Oh, I love them.
People, oh man. Oh, okay, so we're talking like in Festus and in Lincoln County and then St. Louis County and Warren County and the Illinois side and Troy, Illinois, not just Troy, Missouri, Troy, Illinois. And so you've got all of these fights over data centers everywhere. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, that meeting at East Central College the other day, 13 hours of people wanting to have their say on proposals for data centers. 13 hours.
Wow.
There was one of the elected officials that people were bashing because at one point he apparently nodded off, and everyone wanted to make fun of him on that. And then I thought, well, man, yeah, that's a really bad look. And then I read and saw the thing went 13 hours. I'm like, I'm in pretty good, vibrant shape, and I probably would have nodded off too after that much talk over data centers for half of the day.
I mean, I'm all for people being able to give their voice, but
Absolutely.
13 hours worth, I have to imagine it got a little repetitive near the end there.
Yes. And here's the thing is that the people who support the projects, they generally aren't going to show up to these. A few do here and there. Kirk Hilsinger, he shows up to these to offer a counter perspective, but they're just overwhelmed by people who are opposed to them. So just barely west of the News Talk STL broadcast listening area. Now, if you got the app, it's all our listening area. But just saying that just west of here, there was announced a massive, and when I say massive, I mean massive data center project that's going into mid-Missouri. So right off I-70, all of that rural area where it's like farmland and there's a solar farm out there now. But they're talking about Amazon and Google. Now, the Amazon one was already approved. The Google one was announced yesterday by the governor. So between these are $50 billion projects put together.
Wow.
They are something like 2,000 acres that's going to be constructed of data center, tech center in mid-Missouri. Now, this is this area out there that if it's where I'm pretty sure that it's where I'm looking at the map because I know that area very well. I've driven I-70 hundreds, if not thousands of times. That's a very rural area. There's Kingdom City. It's going to be a little bit, probably 20, 30 minutes west of Warrenton. It's an area where there's just nothing else there other than farmland.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of getting in that area where you see the nuclear power plant not too far off. So this is a huge project, not just when it comes to the construction jobs over the next, several years. And I don't think these things are particularly complex to build. I mean, they're massive and they're huge, but they're not intricate like you're building an office building or a stadium or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's essentially just a massive computer.
Right.
With a whole lot of storage and a different cell. I mean, it's not as easy as you or I could assemble this in the afternoon kind of
but
thing.
these are glorified massive hard drives.
Yes.
And so the announcement here, and we'll have more details in the news dump here in just a little bit. But you're talking about, thousands of acres, obviously a lot of jobs to construct it. And then there are going to be probably hundreds of jobs permanently, pretty high paying jobs between these two that are going to be out there. So mid-Missouri, I'm sure there are opponents out there. I haven't talked to my friends at the, Zimmer Radio Group or any of those things, but apparently they're pretty excited overall with this. So we'll have more details in the news dump here in just about an hour. Also, Susie and I were at the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet last night with Riley Gaines. We will have updates and observations. This was more than a banquet, and we did leave there with things for you that we'll be sharing throughout the morning here as well. Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Duchenne High School, Bula Yomo, and Mobile Magic Auto Body. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Saying we have Cuba on our mind, President Trump calls the indictment of former Cuban President Raul Castro a very big moment for Cuban Americans.
The Cuban population of Miami and certainly beyond Miami, people that came there that were decimated, whose families were ruined, appreciate what the Attorney General just did today and was just doing now. Is just watching it. So we have Cuba on our mind. Very important.
But asked whether there would be escalation with Cuba, the president said that's not necessary. Quoting Mr. Trump, the place is falling apart. It's a mess, and they've sort of lost control. Castro and 5 others indicted in the U.S. in connection with the Cuban military's fatal downing of 2 planes 30 years ago. Castro's facing murder and other charges. Senate Republicans are considering dropping a proposal for $1 billion in security funds. It relates to President Trump's ballroom project at the White House.
The president was asked if he's worried about the ballroom funding.
I'm building the ballroom.
In the Senate, Louisiana Republican John Kennedy says they're back to square one. North Carolina's Tom Tillis says adding the security funding was a bad idea. He does not think there is enough backing to pass it, even if the price is reduced. Vermont Democrat Peter Welch says this comes as many voters are struggling to make ends meet.
The folks that you represent and I represent really wonder, why are we spending $1 billion on a ballroom?
President Trump had originally said private money would cover the ballroom project. Ed Donahue, Washington.
3 people are dead. More than a dozen first responders had to be quarantined for exposure to a mystery substance. It happened after they were called to a suspected drug overdose at a rural New Mexico home. The Dow features down 162. More on these stories, townhall.com.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shant Scotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. On this date, Israel was officially recognized as a Jewish state.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Boo! Relax, nerd.
Susie Moore.
And that would be a good time to respond with some applause.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
That's a banana republic without the banana.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, so I'm looking through social media. And I hate to use like cliches, but the St. Charles County executive race is heating up.
It is.
Steve Elman's discovered Twitter, or X.
Yay! Welcome to the fun, Steve.
I saw Steve Elman, was taking some shots at Bill Eigel.
Oh.
And so I'm thinking, well, this is interesting because that's not been the dynamic that we've had so far. Okay, so I want to go into a little more depth, a little bit later on in the 7 o'clock hour, but essentially he's responding to Bill Eigel putting out some videos and social media, comments and things like that regarding apartments. Bill is like we're not going to allow any apartments in St. Charles County. Yeah, the whole thing. And Steve Elman basically goes on social media, and you can find a Steve Elman for county executive on there, and it basically says, you don't know what you're talking about, is what he's accusing Bill Eigel of.
Okay.
He says the county government doesn't have any control over that. Those are all cities. So basically he's accusing him of grandstanding and not knowing what the job is doing. Well, I mean, Bill Eigel's been around government for a long time. I talked to Jason Law's campaign manager, communication director last night as well. I don't know if Jason was at the pro-life thing last night, but
I didn't see him. I just saw John.
I saw John. Yeah. So I talked to John for a few minutes. And so he was commenting about the upcoming debate, which is with Steve or his campaign or whoever's doing this. I mean, it's under his name, so we'll just credit it to Steve. Yeah. So they're going to get a little feisty back because there's no question Bill Eigel's feisty. You agree or disagree with him, he's a feisty guy. He's not going to hold back.
He knows how to get a crowd worked up.
He knows how to, which to me, between that and then talking to John last night, who works for Jason Law's campaign, I'm thinking, this debate on the June 2nd is going to be really interesting.
Could be fascinating.
Yeah, because that's what I was talking with John Conlon about was the debate and what's coming up, and I go and I see the social media post from Steve Elman, and I think Bill may have swung back on one, but I'm looking at this and going, this is not going to be just a dry bunch of policy wonk stuff.
I don't think so.
This is going to be interesting on June 2nd.
I know. I'm formulating my questions, and I want to make sure that they are provocative in a productive way.
Right, and because the Republican primary is all that matters in this race.
Oh yeah,
I think there is a Democrat, but I don't even know who it is. I do this for a living, and I haven't even paid attention to who it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The Republican primary will determine who the county executive is going to be, whether Steve Ellman stays in the job or whether it's Bill Eigel or Jason Law in there in that spot as well. Just whoever wins that primary takes over. And I'm kind of excited now for this. And by the way, when you come out, we're going to be doing the thing where you can write your questions on the postcards as well. And then they're going to give those to us who are going to be the panelists.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to mix in our questions and your questions. And then we've done the whole thing, just kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, where we're talking about, okay, well, when somebody takes a shot at somebody else, they get to respond. And so there's going to be probably a lot of back and forth that's going to happen on this.
Well, I hope so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be boring at all.
No. Well, but I mean, that's what you need. That's what voters want so that they can actually make an informed decision about who's going to be the best person for that role.
Yeah, and this is the thing is when we talk about these, one, from a radio station perspective, a local radio station perspective, we're like, okay, this is what we need to be doing. We're out in the community. People need to know that we're providing access to the candidates and all that sort of stuff. And that's the nuts and bolts of it. That's the sort of thing we need to be doing. At the same time, this is going to be entertaining.
I think so.
I mean, this is one of those where your township committee Republican group, or or even if you're in one of the other parties, this is who's going to determine who the next county executive is. Your chamber group, your business group, your neighborhood association. All of you should be putting out the word that you need to have some presence there.
Yeah.
And encourage your members to go. Now, all the campaigns are usually really good about turning out people who support them, so they have a big presence. There'll be people in T-shirts, and some of them will have signs and all that kind of stuff. But this is one where, your whatever, Chamber of Commerce group or your business association or your whatever it is, you all need to be getting the word out to your membership that they need to be out there at this and submitting questions.
Yes.
I mean, I would love for us and the team that's working with us to be overwhelmed with questions to where it's hard to pick the best ones.
Yeah.
Make it hard for Susie and I.
Please.
Yeah, really. That's what that's right. That's what I'm asking for. So anyway, June 2nd, all the details are at newstalkstl.com, but I'm kind of more excited about this now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's going to be here before you know it.
Ran into Dennis Hancock last night.
I saw him there.
Yeah, I talked to Dennis Hancock on the St. Louis County side of things. Obviously, he is the Republican nominee. He was the only one who filed. The others didn't. And I was chatting with him for a few minutes about his race because we don't know which Democrat he's going to be up against.
Right.
Now, there are
well,
three.
we know who he's not going to be up against, and that's Sam Page.
Correct. Yeah. So
Praise be.
Yes. So we don't know if it's going to be Jake Zimmerman. We don't know if it's going to be Brian Williams. And there was actually, who was it? There was a state senator, I think, who kind of joined recently. So there's actually three Democrats in there.
Oh.
The two leaders are generally accepted to be Jake and Brian.
I would think so.
So, I was asking him, and I just privately, I don't think he would mind if I said it on the air. I said, do you have a preference for who you would face? And he said, no. He said, they're also similar policy-wise.
Right.
And politically-wise. He said, our preparation, meaning his campaign's preparation, is really the same because the differences of opinion are going to be stark with regardless of who is nominated. Yeah. So there are times where I know politicians have those stock answers from media people, because even though I've gotten to be friends with him, I'm still a media guy. He's still a politician.
Sure.
But he was like, he goes, Brian and Jake, you said, they're really similar in where they stand and where they come from and how they govern and all that kind of stuff, which is true.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to Dennis's approach too, which is basically focused on policy and what the job requires and what he brings to it, as opposed to who can I attack more.
Yeah, I didn't hear him say anything about attacking anybody.
And he doesn't need to.
No, but he was very ready to say, here's what's different between us.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's obviously what we want. I have no idea. I'm not privy to the trends in the Democratic circles for obvious reasons.
No.
But regardless of who it is, regardless of who wins, Republican or Democrat in St. Louis County, if it's Dennis Hancock, if it's Brian Williams, if it's Jake Zimmerman, it's going to be better than it is now.
Yeah, Yeah, I was just thinking about this. Like, this would be so different if my dad was still here because I don't know if you know this, but my dad was very involved in local Democrat politics.
Yeah, I did know that.
And he was the administrative director of the St. Louis County Council for years. Yeah. So he knew all the players. Charlie Dooley was at my wedding. I mean, like that's how. And Buzz Westfall, those people were all part of my life growing up. So I would love to get my dad's take on things. Obviously, he would not probably be favoring Dennis Hancock. He was never a Republican. He wouldn't be voting for a Republican. But just to see like what his thoughts are about the current executive and who would be a good replacement for him, I would really appreciate his insight.
So would your dad have been more of kind of that old school blue collar type of Democrat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, his law school roommate was Ike Skelton, and that's pretty much a good flavor of what kind of Democrat that he was, and that I grew up being. Yeah. The old school Democrats, the Truman Democrats, the Kennedy Democrats.
Yeah, that's around Missouri they love to call themselves Truman Democrats.
Truman Democrats, exactly.
Yeah, and unless you went down to Southwest Missouri, then it was Ike Skelton Democrats.
So we were both.
Yeah, yeah, which basically said conservative, fairly normal people
pretty much,
who just preferred Democrats. Which back then you could go back and forth, and you just there were differences, but they weren't like they were today.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
So we didn't talk. I actually didn't talk a whole lot of shop in politics last night. A little bit later on, we'll give our impressions because when you go into these things and you're thinking, okay, it's a fundraising banquet and everybody's going to do the rah-rah thing.
It's a dinner. It's a dinner.
It was a lot more than that.
It was. It really was.
Susie and I, we were like, I was afraid we were getting in trouble. We were like leaning back and forth and whispering. We're like, David, your boyfriend was there. He was like, "Did you two stop?"
Well, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So, but it really was an impressive event, and they equipped everybody there to take something to everybody else, which
they did.
We happen to have a lot of people who we can hand it to.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely will get into it more, but it was a call to action with some concrete stuff.
With a lot of resources to do it.
Yeah. I appreciated that very much. We are going to recap the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event at 6:35. We walked away with a lot of useful information, as Mike indicated. We're going to share that with you. It wasn't just a rally for Amendment 3. It was actually, it was way more than I expected it to be.
Same. And wasn't Riley Gaines awesome?
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. But at 6:20, let's talk about the cover-up, the UFO cover-up.
Jerome?
This is yours.
This is yours, man.
I've had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Susie here to talk to you about windows. You've heard me talk about Window World before. They're one of only 2 replacement windows with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval, and they're ranked number 1 in the country for a number of windows sold by Qualified Remodeler magazine. They've been doing this for over 20 years, helping improve the look and energy efficiency of more than 80,000 homes right here in St. Louis. That's a lot of homes. And the St. Louis location has been owned, operated, and managed by born and raised St. Louisans for more than 23 years. So if you've been thinking about new windows, you can call today and get a free home estimate at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS. What I like about Window World is the product itself. Their windows are durable, they're secure, they're energy efficient, and they're built with double-strength glass that you don't typically see in replacement windows. Plus, you're covered with a lifetime warranty that includes parts, glass, breakage, and labor. That's a pretty big deal. And they don't just do windows. Window World can also help with siding and doors, basically everything on the exterior of your home except a roof or garage door, And here's something a lot of companies don't offer. Their customer service team is available 7 days a week. That means including weekends. And it shows. Over half of their appointments come from repeat customers or referrals, which tells you a lot about their commitment to customer service. They're also big in the community. They've raised over $4 million over the years for charities like Action for Autism and St. Jude. And they're the preferred window of your St. Louis Blues. Right now, they're offering 36 months, same as cash financing, with approved credit. So if you've been putting it off, now is the time to act. Call Window World at 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows. Hides the face, lies the snake, in the sun, in my disgrace.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. You know, and speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, Susie and I are going to, we're going to kind of recap the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event. But here's the thing. This is not going to be the typical, hey, name dropping, look at our pictures. We are going to have a lot of pictures if you're watching us on the stream here as well. We've already posted some of them on News Talk STL social media. But what was really different about this one, and I think Susie will concur, let me know what you think, is that it wasn't just celebrate, hey, donate money to the campaign. I mean, they did that.
Yeah.
But it was, here is what everybody in your circles needs to know. And they equipped everybody there, like 1,100 of us who are there. They equipped everybody with, here's how we're going to win and save lives. Please take this information to as many people as possible so we actually have the luxury of doing it here.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing opportunity.
Yep. But then we'll also give our impressions of Riley Gaines, since we both got to hang out with her for a little bit last night. All right, 6:21 right now. So, recently we had the UFO Files release. Part one. And Jerome was so excited about this. Yes, so excited. So there's a story in the Daily Mail. Take it for what it's worth, the Daily Mail. But they talked to two people they identified as CIA scientists, saying that the government knows about alien life crashing here on Earth and that there are at least 4 species that we know of. There you go. By the way, side note, today is apparently National Talk Like Yoda Day.
Yeah, I think that was in the list of national
Yeah.
days, and I was kind of in a hurry, so I kind of brushed over it, and I shouldn't have skipped over Yoda.
Failed you have.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to do that, today's the day to do it.
Yeah.
By the way, it's funny once, maybe twice.
Maybe twice?
Yeah, twice maybe.
Getting a little Waka Waka-ish there now.
Well, it's all like everybody has a Yoda voice.
Mm-hmm.
See, I the annoying thing I do it is like when one of my baseball teammates does that thing where you swing but stop and then you like dribble one right back to the pitcher or something. And I'm always like, swing or swing not. There is no try, And and then the common response, because I'm so popular around the league, is shut up.
I just want to point out, I'm glad it's not Speak Like a Wookiee Day, though.
Oh, no.
I could never do that one.
I can't do that.
But if you
I'm not awake enough to do any of these impressions.
but you notice that the Yoda voice is actually just shades of Kermit the Frog and Marvin the Martian?
Yes.
They're all shades of that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, and I have a terrible impression of him, but if you did, so you did Kermit the Frog.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay?
That's okay.
Is that a decent?
That's decent. We know who you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. But then Marvin the Martian, who's actually kind of my favorite Looney Tunes character,
Mhm.
you just go down like a half an octave. So it's like, you have made me very angry, Earthling, like that.
Right.
Very, very good.
Is that? Yeah, that's my favorite.
Susie,
one.
Right.
give us
Yeah.
your Yoda.
No, I'm not doing it right now. It has to be spontaneous. If I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
can't. It won't work.
But with Yoda, you just do about the same thing, just make it gravelly.
Mm-hmm.
She has chosen the dark side
Yeah,
today.
yeah, exactly. That's all you do. Okay, that was great news information we just shared with everybody.
Very informative.
Just saying. Okay, so here are Dr. Hal Puthoff and Dr. Eric Davis making their claims and talking about the aliens. And I would think because they didn't come through customs, so they may have come from outer space, but technically that would be illegal, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Technically.
Yes. But here's what they had to say. This again from the Daily Mail.
And recoveries have said
there are at least four separate types. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talked to.
Four different types of life.
4 different types of life, at least. Yeah.
And the people I've talked through the process of making the documentary have said that there have been dozens of recoveries of crashed craft in the U.S. alone.
Okay, so is our government that good at hiding stuff that they could cover up dozens and dozens of alien crashes to where we don't know about them? We just depict them in the movies.
That's a fair question. There certainly do seem to be issues with leaks right and left all the time. So, but then you also get hints of this all the time too. So it's not like if it was truly being kept secret, if it's real and it was being kept secret, we wouldn't even be having this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic on this issue.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be persuaded either way.
All right. Are you? I think Jerome, are you persuaded?
It's one of those phenomena where once they start to acknowledge something that they've been denying, you kind of like, okay, so it is fake after all, I guess.
Yeah. What gives? You guys are owning up to it? Forget it.
Now, the infographic from the article that I posted on the stream, in case you're watching us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, do resemble the types of beings that out of, I think there are supposed to be 7 or 8 that UFO fanatics say actually exist. These are 4 that have been repeatedly claimed to have existed for quite a while now. So
this looks like from the movie Men in Black.
Yes,
is what they look like.
Men in Black was a documentary.
Okay,
so, just like Transformers was.
I mean, the one looks like a dinosaur.
Yeah. So the reptilian, allegedly, there was this very infamous case a couple of years ago, 2023 or 2022, where police actually responded to some weird thing falling out of the sky, and the parts of the video, the body cam video, had them talking about it, going and meeting the family. The family was terrified. They redacted and confiscated the information about what the actual thing that fell was, and then it resumes the body. And this is authentic, I think, Los Angeles body camera footage. And they're talking about how freaky that is and how they wouldn't have believed. Like, they're glad they went to that, but they would have never believed that this had happened had they not gone to the call. They thought it may have been like a prank call. And the family reported that some 8-foot-tall being had crashed in their backyard.
Then the 8-foot-tall one, that's like the dinosaur-looking one.
And so there's been some instances like that have kind of surfaced now. I think that it's just become, again, you can't rule out people just having schizophrenic episodes or bad drug trips or something.
Or a really good one, maybe.
Or maybe a really good one, yeah. But at the same time, I think there is, maybe not these 4 exact. I've never seen an 8-foot-tall mantis ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the most frightening one out of all of them is a 7-foot-tall insect.
I was gonna say, think about how you react to an inch-long insect that suddenly jumps out at you. Imagine one that's like 1,000 times bigger than that.
But how many times have we heard Mothman sightings?
Yeah, that's over. Was it like New England or East Coast? That's like
Chicago
Mothman.
as well. They're all over the United States.
A lot of Mothman stories.
Maybe it's not a Mothman. Maybe it's one of these 8-foot-tall mantises that they just didn't get a good enough look at.
Maybe it's trains.
Yeah.
Well, see, and like I'm not a big science fiction guy. I had a friend drag me to one of the Star Trek movies that was in the theater back in the 2010 or so. I don't know what it was. But
one with Chris Pine.
Sure. But it was funny. It was the one that had like the makeout scene, and he's making out with this really hot woman who's painted green. She's like an alien.
Well, that's like classic Star Trek.
Yeah, that was
William Shatner's specialty.
Right, and I guess that was an homage to this in there, because I remember walking out and they're like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, I'm just not a science fiction guy. The movie was fun. It was fine. I'm like, the green chick was hot, and I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just say? did I just say that? But I'm not seeing any of that. I'm just saying like reptilian dinosaur and
well, the
mantis
Greys are
people.
the classic.
Yeah. And that's on here
the
too.
Roswell ones. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so now they're saying what? We've got 10 UFOs, space alien craft, which is the Independence Day.
Yeah.
What that was portrayed there.
Well, and think as well as the credentials of some of the people that are finally coming forward. So Bob Lazar was probably the most famous. He's been talking about UFOs in his work at Area 51 since the 80s, and he's been very consistent. He's gone and done multiple appearances, and there's not been any consistencies in his story, so that kind of lends maybe a little bit to the idea. But then you have under oath in front of Congress, actual Air Force pilots, and the guy himself, Grush, I believe it was either Graves or Grush, the leader of the UAP task force. So enough of this stuff is happening where they had to establish a task force. Maybe it is sometimes a malfunction of military sensors or something that, weird or flag, something that is explainable. But when you have people that are coming forward saying, like, look, we're afraid of talking about this stuff, and now you're under oath saying, yes, we do have evidence of this, I do think that maybe there could be something, and maybe now it's just being more sensationalized because it's back in the news.
See, and I feel like I've become more of a skeptic over time because I definitely I thought E.T. was a documentary, and I'm disappointed that we're not seeing him on there. No, I was really into it. I loved Close Encounters. I read UFO books. I read up on Project Bluebird, was it, and Area 51. I loved Roswell, the show. I mean, I was really, really into it. And I feel like we've been getting like dribs and drabs of information, and then the people that are getting ready to tell us about it are like sensationalizing it and making it about themselves. So now I'm at the point where I feel like a lot of it is just BS, and it's just like people are kind of trying to aggrandize themselves instead of actually getting to what's actually there.
That's just what they want you to think.
Yeah.
Well, and then think about, again, in the 60s, you had Star Trek. And what was Star Trek about? Is about a flight of Americans going into space, beating up aliens. Colonizing. So what if they intercepted that broadcast and said, wow, this is what the humans are like. They're great warriors. We don't want anything to do with them.
Right.
Now, I will say once again, though, and
I like the other aspect. Some comedian, he said, do you ever think that they want to make contact with us, but they see what's going on Earth, and we're the neighborhood, they lock their doors in their spacecraft when they fly
I was
by.
going to say, would you really want to?
Yeah, if you saw aliens battling it out all the time, you see what becomes of St. Louis at night, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to make
Not
contact.
that neighborhood.
No, but again, on Google, you can look it up. There are actual legitimate patents for what are considered anti-gravitational crafts, and some of those look like what we would describe as like the sci-fi movie versions of a UFO.
I just want to point out, on Google, you can look it up and it can lie to you. We just proved that yesterday. So I'm just saying.
No, this is not AI Summit. This is actual, like, the Office of Patent. Like, you can look up the patents.
I'm just pointing out that just saying you can look it up on Google isn't convincing me, because I saw it lie to me yesterday.
Okay, you can look it up on ChatGPT then.
Definitely not convincing me. I have to beat that thing into submission all the time because it lies.
I'm a little bit more skeptical of the government's account, but I still believe. So I guess I'll leave it there.
Is it because you want
to believe?
I want to believe.
There you go.
Truth is out there.
Life's more fun when you believe in things. Now, on another note, what I believe in is the ability for people to send me amazing 80s bump music songs for Flashback Friday.
I thought you were going to bust into I Believe the Children Are...
I believe the aliens are the future.
Which is an 80s song. Sorry.
So this week's theme was submitted, requested via email. And it's songs that you associate with protests. So either a song that you think would go good for a protest, or even better, if it was a song affiliated with some sort of movement or some sort of mass protest back in the 80s. So
the funny part is there were a lot of songs that were that people didn't realize were that.
Yeah, so go ahead if you remember any of those, because I was not around in the 80s, so I could not have possibly known that. But go ahead and send them to me, Jerome, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain, black hole.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On NewsTalk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shant Scotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out. As we look off into Saturday, temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gott.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Producer Joey V from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Tune in to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J's Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the NewsTalk STL app.
Anywhere.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, Susie and Jerome are watching the Facebook and the X comments. I've got the Rumble chat box up in front of me. Everybody's had their coffee today. There's just a lot going on.
It's a great conversation.
It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what we're talking about here, which is cool. We were talking about kiwis earlier.
Yeah, and how I'm eating them wrong. But
who knew?
But if you want to get in on these conversations, look up Mike Ferguson in the morning on the NewsTalk STL Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, or X.
Yep, we're all there. Okay, fundraising banquets are one thing. I think we've all been to a bunch of those over the years. You know, there's a routine. Everybody knows what you're supposed to do. There's a pattern. There's a template. You know they're going to ask for money at the end, and that's fine. That's why you showed up there, to support whatever the cause is.
Right.
Nothing wrong with those. But here's the thing. This Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event last night was different. I mean, I figured it was going to be good, and we've been promoting it here for, I don't know, month and a half or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
And that place was sold out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they didn't have any room left. Those tables were backed up to the back of the room. It was
house.
It was definitely a full house. And I think a lot of that probably had to do with Riley Gaines being the keynote speaker.
Probably, yeah.
But also there's such an urgency over Amendment 3, which I want to get to here in just a minute. But let's do like just kind of the basic impressions of what you got, because I think we agree, Susie, that it was a lot more than what we expected. I expected it to be good, but I thought that event was more important than what I thought it was going to be.
Well, I'm old enough that I've been to, I don't even know how many of the events like this. And, they kind of all have a similar feel to them. And you think that's what you're getting with this, but it was more than that. And when I say that, what I mean is, the program lasted, maybe a little over an hour, maybe 90 minutes.
Something like that.
It wasn't one of those things where you were like looking at your watch, like, gotta go, even though we did really need to go because we had to get up early today. But it didn't last too late, thankfully. But each speaker that spoke, and obviously Riley Gaines was the main speaker, but we heard from the people from Missouri Right to Life. We heard from I mean, I can't think of what group she's with, but the gal that gave the explanation about like basically the marketing aspect of it.
And that's what I want to get into. She was with Axios. Basically, she's been hired to run the campaign, coordinate the campaign for Amendment 3.
Right. So, but each person that we heard from, there was an award given out to kind of a lifetime champion for life, and each thing had its own piece of information and things that I didn't know, things that I learned that were interesting and kept my attention. There wasn't a whole bunch of times where people were like just talking, and there was like murmur in the crowd and no one was paying attention to that sort of thing. It was actually an interesting program and way more useful information than just rah for the cause.
Right.
Hey, can you donate?
Right.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and you're talking about Jessica Flanagan from Axios.
Was okay.
Strategies.
That's who Nicole, but yes.
Yep.
Yes, she was very informative, and I wasn't expecting that, like getting that kind of little crash course on what the messaging is, and I know you want to talk about it, but the biggest takeaway and the thing that kind of shocked me, like in an uncomfortable way, people don't want to hear about babies.
Yeah.
But they want to hear about women.
Yeah.
And that hurts me to hear, like, because you think about like the billboards and the posters and the ads and stuff with little babies in them, and it's like, you see that and you think, how could someone not want to protect that and protect life? But that's not what resonates with the people that are persuadable, with the people that may be able to meet you part of the way at least. It's about protecting the women.
Yeah, we got a crash course in campaign strategy for this. And she was drawing on experiences from other states where they've won similar measures on this. But that was one of the things that stuck out to me because, first of all, I'm a communications guy, so I'm uniquely interested in these things to start with. But what we can bring to you from that is that their research, and they have spent a bunch of money researching on who is going to make the difference in this race. Now, there's basically a couple categories. The people who are already pro-life for any reason. Now, we don't know. We'll find out by tomorrow, whether this is going to be on the August or going to be on the November ballot.
Right.
We just don't know. That's up to the governor, and he's got a lot of things to factor in when he talks about that or when he makes that decision. And so it doesn't matter which one it is. When it comes to this, you've got people who are going to show up because they are pro-life. Then there's the group of people who are definitely pro-life when they show up. But you've got to focus on making sure that they show up.
That's
Remember,
the key.
This was what, a 2.5% margin for the last time?
If that.
Yeah. And so, but then there are the people who are, like you said, who are persuadable. They're not specifically ideological. These are the people who are going to say things like, I'm personally against it, but I don't know if that kind of stuff. And so some of the key takeaways here that we need to know, and Steve Rupp, who's going to be with us at 8:05, the president of Missouri Right to Life, he was very clear, is that this is not a total ban on abortion. There are exceptions allowed when rape is involved, when incest is involved, if there's a physical life of the mother threatened. Could those loopholes be abused? They could, but he made it very clear that Missouri's voters, the polling shows they would not approve a total ban.
Right.
So we have a choice.
So do you let the perfect be the enemy of the good?
Right. We have a choice. Do we save 90% plus and then work on how to save the others as soon as possible? Or do we do what you said, make the perfect the enemy of the good?
It's like Sophie's choice.
Right. So that was something that we've got to understand. And so the takeaways are for your friends, like, that they're pro-life, but maybe they're one of those who show up occasionally or on the presidential years. They have to show up to vote. And for the others, they need to understand this is not a total ban, but they also point out to Susie, what you were talking about, is that this is about women and protecting women. I mean, yes, we talk about babies a lot, and it is about saving the babies, but the messaging, what resonates, is especially with young women and protecting them, because what we passed a couple years ago, horrifically endangers girls and women.
Yes, it does.
And that is what you need to read up on at Missouri Right to Life, because that's what resonates with these voters. And I thought the same thing when I thought, voters care about women more than babies.
Which is hard to hear.
We hate to hear that. I want to care about them all. Why is it? Why won't you know?
Right.
But I also
Well, and, you don't even talk about men.
no. Well, no.
So yeah, I mean, but it did surprise me to hear that.
Yeah.
Kind of that bluntly, but it's true.
That's what. So when you're talking about this, and especially you get into the nonsensical arguments that you're just pro-birth, you're not pro.
Right.
No. But this is about the women, and keep that in mind. So definitely go to the Missouri Right to Life website, Vitae Foundation, places like that.
Mm-hmm.
Riley Gaines, we got a couple minutes left here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Riley Gaines. I knew she was a good speaker. She's grown into her role so well. And a lot of times somebody gets famous for being in the news on something, and then they want to capitalize on it, and then they burn out and they do something dumb. And Riley Gaines, I knew was going to be a good speaker. I thought she was one of the best I've seen at one of these, maybe in a long time. I don't think there was anybody who lost interest. She was outstanding.
Yeah. I said almost the exact same thing to David when we were leaving. I was like, I've been to, I don't even know how many of these. This is literally one of the best speakers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And, okay, for me, I have this strange connection thing because she's only 2 years older than my daughter.
Yeah.
Her name's Riley. My daughter is Riley. They're both blonde. There's a lot of it brings out the motherhood instinct in me. And yet she's standing up on the stage speaking pretty much extemporaneously.
Oh, she didn't have any notes at all.
There were no notes. There
Oh.
was no teleprompter.
No.
And she just went. And everything she said, tied back. It was engaging. There was some snark. There was some humor.
Oh, she was a little edgy.
Yeah, there were
It
a
was
couple
funny.
points where like people from Kentucky might not like what you just said. But she brought the points home and she tied it all in together. And she explained her background. The reason that she is making all these speeches and that she's known is because of her position on transgenderism, and particularly trans athletes. Because she lived it. I mean, she went through that experience and she walked us through that and really, I thought, did a beautiful job of driving home the impact that had on her as a young woman. But then she figured she was able to weave that just seamlessly into the larger cause of life. And I just thought she was amazing.
I thought it was a fantastic call to action, and she tied all of that together really well. I knew she was going to be good. I didn't think she was going to be that good.
Spectacular.
And in person, she came across to me as one of the most sincere, famous people I've ever met.
Genuinely nice. I mean, she could have been faking it, but when I said, I got to talk to you about a month ago, I'm the one who has a daughter named Riley, she's like, oh, yeah, it's so great to see. I mean, just genuinely nice,
very
darling person.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed meeting her. She is very likely going to be back on the show. The folks in Missouri Right to Life, I talked to Susan Klein and Pam Ficker and Steve Rupp, and Riley Gaines has made it clear she's coming back to Missouri to help us pass.
She wants to help us
Amendment
with this
3.
fight.
Yeah, and she's an important voice, reaching out especially to young women and those who have young women in their lives, which is going to be crucial.
Absolutely. Things are getting feisty in Festus. I almost said Festivus, but I feel like that would be appropriate too. Well, that recall vote actually happened. We've got the update on that at 6:50.
Save your life by keeping whispers unsaid. Children roam the streets now, orphans of war. Bodies hanging in the streets to adore. Royal flames.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
The strong protecting the weak and the good defeating evil.
on News Talk STL.
All right, you heard about spring cleaning. I think a lot of us kind of do that. By the way, a lot of people think that Memorial Day is the unofficial launch of summer. It's actually in June, but this is when you start thinking about those projects. What am I going to do to make my home not just more valuable, build more equity in it, but make it that resort, make it that retreat right here at home that I want it to be. And one of the best ways to do that is, yes, you renovate the inside of your home and update it, and that's great. You maybe get some new shingles, that sort of thing. But what about that new deck that you're going to be out there with your friends and your family for things like Memorial Day, for things like Independence Day? Oh, imagine having that deck ready for you by, say, Independence Day. That's guaranteed workmanship with American-made materials, which, by the way, right now, less expensive because there's fewer tariffs on all of that. And also the materials that are used are guaranteed, okay? Or your fence. That's what you want to do. You're going to find all that at stlfenceworks.com. You need to contact my friends at St. Louis Fenceworks. Matter of fact, you can get an estimate, and you can even get a look at what it may do for your property. Just go to stlfenceworks.com, click on the estimate button, and then you can get a virtual reality look at that and a kind of a ballpark look. You can also contact them through the website, stlfenceworks.com. You can buy now and pay later, but it is American workers with American-made products making your American home even more American and beautiful. stlfenceworks.com.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Looking for a fresh eating alternative for you and your family? Head on over to CJ's Restaurant and Bar in O'Fallon. CJ's literally offers something for everyone, from young to old. We're a casual American eatery with a wide-ranging menu of pastas, salads, and sandwiches, all served in a comfortable, warm environment with a family-friendly atmosphere. From vegetarian options to hearty classics. We offer dine-in, carry-out, catering, and even have a banquet room for your special events. Come see us or visit us on the web at cjsofallon.com.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I love that you're starting your day off right with Mike Ferguson in the Morning. It's your boy Joe Pags. Talk to you tonight. But now let's get back to Mike.
By the way, if you want to see some of the pictures from the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event, just go to Newstalk STL social media. There's a bunch of them up there. We've posted those. Okay, could that recall effort in Festus get stopped before it makes it to the ballot?
I don't know.
Yeah, and a massive, and I mean massive, data center project is coming to the Show Me State.
Okey-dokey.
Yep. Missouri's pro-life community revved up for the fight for Amendment 3 last night. Throughout the day, we're going to be giving you updates. And at 8:05, Steve Rupp, president of Missouri Right to Life, is going to be with us here as well. 6:51 right now. Let's go ahead and do a news dump.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, so here's how we're going to rock and roll here. I'm going to give you the basic details right now, and then I want to go into more depth on this at 7:05.
Okay.
Right? Including a bigger picture question on this. The mayor and the council members are pushing back in Fenton in response to that recall petition that was filed against them this week. We told you about, or Festus. I'm sorry, what did I say? Fenton? Yeah, Festus. I'm sorry, Festus. In response to that recall petition filed against them this week that we told you about yesterday, a lawyer for Mayor Sam Richards and council members Mike Cook, David Boyer, and Kevin Dennis, they're arguing that the petition recall does not meet the legal requirements to be put onto the ballot. Specifically, here's what they're arguing, is that the complaint is that the petition does not cite a specific legal duty that was violated. Activists in the community are trying to recall these officials for supporting a data center project. The county clerk has just over a week left to certify the petition for the ballot or to reject it. And so they've hired Chuck Hatfield to object to it. And you can see his letter to them at KMOV.com. I've read the entire thing, and so he's making I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like a persuasive argument that here's what the law says. They did not cite anything. And then one of the questions I'm going to ask at 7:05 is we're mad at you and we don't like this vote that you did enough of a reason for a recall? And essentially that's going to be kind of the crux of the matter here.
Depends on what the statute says.
Exactly. So, and that link that I sent over to you. So his argument is right there. All right, Governor Mike Kehoe and Google announcing a massive data center project in mid-Missouri, just barely west of the NewsTalk-STL area. KMOV's Corey Stark has the details.
A $15 billion investment, and it's right next to an already approved $35 billion data center run by Amazon. So the next time you drive to Columbia on I-70, instead of farm fields, you could see these huge tech centers. They're slated to go in Montgomery County near New Florence, 20 miles west of Warrenton. The two data centers combined would take up nearly 2,000 acres. So just for perspective here, Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village take up 28 acres. So that is roughly the size of 70 Busch stadiums.
Governor Kehoe says Google will be paying 100% of the utility cost of running the center and will also be paying for the infrastructure that will be needed for the project that they're going to have to build to put it out there. You got a bunch of farmland out there right now.
Yes.
Is what you've got.
Which, there's a trade-off there, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, that's still within the News Talk STL listening area because I drive that way all the time, and you can still hear us all the way to Fulton. So,
that is within it, yeah.
Yeah, New Florence is exactly the halfway point between my house and Columbia. I can tell you that just because I made that trip so many times. So yeah, if they've got the space available and they're paying the Google's paying the costs, we're not giving major subsidies and all that sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what the terms are with Amazon, but this was just the Google one with those terms.
Yeah. And I haven't heard whether the people of the surrounding area are up in arms about this or not, but it sounds like there's already a project ongoing. I didn't realize that Amazon had that going.
And they're going to go basically next to each other. So it's
Okay.
going to be one big development out there.
Right.
So
I will say this. I think I would rather it be that than just fields and fields and fields of solar arrays.
Because there are some of those out there.
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I drive by,
Yeah, or the big wind turbines.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have those really in Missouri, but I'm just saying if the choice is between those two things, I'll go with the data
Now,
centers.
Northwest Missouri, there's a few.
Yeah, because you're starting to get into
But then
that.
you drive in and I-70 through Kansas and then
I'm aware.
55 up Illinois, you see a bunch of those as well. All right, President Trump telling reporters on Wednesday that he's giving Iran a couple of days, his words, to accept his demand to end nuclear enrichment as the U.S. Negotiates an end to the war. Meanwhile, military and the White House are continuing to put economic pressure on Tehran by continuing to blockade Iranian ports and impose economic sanctions. Senator Eric Schmidt was on Fox's Hannity last night. He says the economic pressures have put U.S. in the advantage position.
A lot of success there, which made time for the ceasefire, which has now made time for the diplomacy. And again, I think the president in his quote there is seeking a deal here to ensure that Iran doesn't get that nuclear weapon.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is asking Europe, Asia, and allies in the Middle East to also impose sanctions on Iran. I don't believe any of those have actually formally done so at this point.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. So let's see here. What else is going on? Oh, you hear about this Castro indictment?
Did you hear about it?
Yeah. The Justice Department has indicted former Cuban President Raul Castro in connection to the 1996 murders of 4 Americans who were killed by Cuban fighter jets while flying civilian aircraft. The DOJ is arguing that the former leader had spies in Florida that violated the state's sovereignty and provided intel on the Americans who were killed. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says Castro and others face several charges and that he says the leaders need to be held accountable for killing the Americans.
President Trump is committed to restoring a very simple but important principle. If you kill Americans, we will pursue you, no matter who you are, no matter what title you hold, and in this case, no matter how much time has passed.
The planes were operated by a Miami-based group called Brothers to the Rescue, which was an activist group that opposes the Cuban government. The charges come after CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with counterparts from Cuba's Ministry of the Interior last week during high-level visits to the nation. It also comes as the Trump administration ramps up its pressure on the Cuban Communist government. The island nation right now is in basically an energy and food shortage crisis as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Keep an eye on Cuba.
Yeah. Yep. Cardinals did lose to the Pirates last night. They got shut out 7-0. Deciding game of that series today at 12:15.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis and Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey there, News Talk STL. This is Chris Cooper, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management. Tune in this Sunday for Serenity Wealth Now show. This week's special guest, we have got Garrett the Ghost Casper. He is a former Blue Angel, 30-year Navy vet, and he's joining us Memorial Day weekend to talk about the St. Louis Air Show and what a great career in the Navy has looked like for him. Serenity Wealth Now show right here on News Talk STL, 9 a.m., or you can check us out on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets. We'll see you then.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rex Thomason. Following what happened in Venezuela, could Cuba be next? President Trump calling the indictment of former Cuban President Raul Castro a very big moment for Cuban Americans.
We have Cuba on our mind. Very important. A lot of problem for a lot of years, and this was I think it was a very big moment for people that, not only Cuban Americans, but people that came from Cuba, that want to go back to Cuba, people that want to see their family in Cuba. I think this is a very big day, very important day.
Castro's been indicted for the 1996 downing of civilian planes operated by Miami-based exiles. The indictment relates to Castro's alleged role in the shoot-down of two small planes. They were operated by the exile group Brothers to the Rescue. The charges include murder and destruction of an airplane. Acting AG Todd Blanche and other top Justice Department officials announcing the indictment at a Miami ceremony honoring those who were killed in the shoot-down. There is never a shortage of conspiracy theories circulating about the nation's capital, and one of the latest ones has to do with a recent attack at a White House Correspondents' event.
The new poll finds nearly half of Democrats believe the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, D.C. was staged. The Fox News poll finds 49% of Democrats think the assassination attempt on President Trump was arranged. Only 10% of Republicans think this. Laura Winters reporting.
Ukrainian drones have struck another Russian oil refinery, igniting a fire, sending up a massive plume of heavy black smoke. Ukrainian President Zelensky says the attack targeted the refinery that's more than 500 miles inside Russia. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures down 63 points. NASDAQ futures off 120. More on these stories. Townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at SerenityWealthBiz.com. That's SerenityWealthBiz.com.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Have you noticed mattress stores are dramatic? Final clearance, last chance, going out of business every single weekend. Relax. Snooze Mattress and Wellness is locally owned, family owned, and we don't do fake urgency. We use advanced sleep technology trusted by NASA and the Mayo Clinic to fit you to the right mattress, based on your body, not a sales quote. No gimmicks, no games, just better sleep. Snooze Mattress and Wellness. Finally, a mattress store you'll love.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, things are getting pretty interesting in Festus.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's been interesting in Festus going back to that, not just the data center deal that was approved, or at least that part of it, in March, but then the organization and the turnout that threw out basically everybody who was up for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we told you about this yesterday, there's a recall petition for everybody else. So in this case, though, the mayor and the council members in question, they're swinging back.
Okay.
So they've hired a lawyer, and the lawyer has now sent a letter to the county clerk in Jefferson County, who's in charge of, verifying the petition. Now, the county clerk has nothing to do with the issue itself. Her job is simply, are these signatures enough to put something on the ballot? And does this meet the requirements to put it on the ballot? I mean, that's her job. I mean, she's to be neutral and then let the chips fall, let them lie wherever they fall.
Okay.
So their attorney, who's Chuck Hatfield, and Chuck is also the attorney who's opposing the congressional maps. Chuck is, I don't know that this is necessarily Republican or Democrat. He just specializes in government stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. He's with who? Stinson, I think he's with.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
But so essentially what's interesting is what he's arguing is that, and I was reading. I don't know if you looked over his letter yet.
I haven't looked it over. I'm printing it, but
right. So basically, he's asking the county clerk, Janine Goff, to reject the recall petitions, because they're separate recall petitions for each person. But his argument is that it's not valid because he says, under Missouri law, and he cites the statute right there, a recall petition must include a statement of reason for the recall, but not just any reason will do. And so I'm reading from his letter here. The law limits valid grounds for recall to only three things: misconduct in office, incompetence, or failure to perform duties required by law. And then he goes on to say, the Missouri, because this is going to get a little wonky for a second, but then I want to get to the bigger picture. He goes on to say the Missouri Court of Appeals addressed what this means in state ex-rel. What does that mean? State ex-rel.
It's Latin. It just means in relation to.
Okay. So state city council of Gladstone versus Yemen. And he says the court made clear that it is not enough to simply recite the words misconduct, incompetence, or failure to perform duties. The petition must give specific reasons, enough detail that the official being recalled can understand and respond to the charges. Vague or general complaints will not suffice. That's his argument. So basically, if we're going to recall you, then you must have broken one of these duties or laws.
Right.
And he's saying they did not do it. That the recall petition doesn't do that. The recall petition basically is, we are angry because of this deal that you approved.
Yes, we're mad at you.
Right.
And we don't want you to have this job anymore.
Right. So that's the
take backsies.
Right. So there's two questions on that. One is the petition recall, does it meet the legal requirements? Well, I have a feeling a judge might end up deciding this if they're...
Sounds like it.
Yeah, because if this county clerk, and if I were the county clerk, I would be real tempted to go, I do not want to put myself in the middle of this. This is not what the county clerk is elected to do. My job is to, run, a lot of things, but elections are among them. And so in this case, the county clerk would probably happily punt to a judge in a court to say,
well, I don't think they're going to have a choice.
Right.
Because I don't think it is up to them to make that determination.
Right.
Now, this is putting them on notice of the issue, but ultimately the clerk is, there's statutory language that prescribes what the clerk does, and that is to review this, certify the language, that sort of thing. And if there is any issue, they are going to say this is above my pay grade, more or less.
Right, yeah, or just a different lane that I'm in. But that gets to the other question about the recall whole concept to start with. So if somebody has broken the law, if somebody has, violated the public trust in some way, that's clearly what recalls are there for. Is a recall okay just because you're mad at the votes that were taken and you don't like them? And I'm not commenting on whether I'm for or against the data centers, but a lot of people are angry enough about the data centers, like, we want to fire you. So is that what a recall is for? Should we have the option to fire somebody midterm because you don't like the policy decisions that they made? Because there's a lot of policy decisions I don't like. The corporate welfare handouts and, increment financing and taxes and all this kind of stuff. But isn't that what elections are for every couple of years or every 4 years, depending on the term?
Yes. And so to answer your question, there are it's spelled out statutorily regular. There are specific guidelines that have to be followed, bars that have to be met in order to actually recall a public official, as opposed to just not re-electing them when they are next up for election. And you can't. It can't just be you did something we don't like, and we're all mad at you. So, and none of us wants you to be this, council member or mayor or whatever anymore. So you're out. And there's good reason for that. Because if you did that, then what would even be the point of having elections? It would just be constantly going from one candidate to the next about who's doing what you want them to do at that moment and who the majority of people want at that very moment on that very issue. We can't operate like that. There has to be some level of stability.
Yeah, so the voters of Festus and the people who got active in Festus have proven they could throw them out
Absolutely.
And they just did an entire slate, half their elected city government, and now they have, I would think they would have the ability to throw out the rest of the elected city government come next April.
So recall, like impeachment, is an extraordinary remedy. And it's supposed to be, because so that you don't have that just constant, veering side to side in your governance. Yes, you do need to have some way of removing someone from office if they really warrant it. But if it's just they're not doing what I want them to do, or they're doing things I don't like, it's called don't vote for them the next time. Right. Run somebody against them, run yourself, and get them out of office. So yeah, I mean, it's finding that balance, I guess.
So this was a question that was asked much earlier. I can't remember who to attribute it to, but the question was, if for some reason these people are all recalled, and of course they just voted out all of the previous people that they were mad at.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a new government entity for the most part, but to their knowledge, there was an NDA signed or some sort of contractual agreement with the data centers. Would the new people have to still honor the original agreement? Okay. Yes. So this is not going to stop whatever agreement was made. It's just going to have different people in place to try to alter the deal.
How are you so certain of that?
Because it was signed on behalf of the city. It was signed on behalf of the political entity, not the individuals. It was signed on behalf of the political entity, the city.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I'm not.
That's how those things were explained to me when I was first elected.
Yeah. Okay.
So there could be a breach of contract if the new people say, yeah, we didn't want this. This was done against the will of the people. We don't want this coming here now. Sounds like they can't just say, okay.
What are you talking about? You're talking about the non-disclosures or the agreements? The non-disclosures, and then like say the subsidies or the tax breaks. Those are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah, those are two different things.
Do they have to honor both then, or can they breach either one of them?
Well, I mean, if you're party to an agreement, if you breach it, you breach it.
Right.
But I think you are conflating two things there, because people that weren't in there, the non-disclosure just says you can't disclose what was the deal was here. So nobody who represents the city can do that, regardless.
Yeah.
No matter what their personal feelings are about a particular project.
Right. That's what I was referring to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But then if you're talking about the agreement to proceed with the project, to actually implement it,
that's a little trickier.
That's a little trickier.
That's a little trickier, because there are multiple stages of this, and new people being in office could have different perspectives. They're not bound to vote yes for something because somebody else did. But I thought you were talking about the non-disclosure. The non-disclosure thing, when that's for the entity, well, they're still bound by that.
Right. And that just means you cannot discuss what the behind-the-scenes stuff conversations were, whatever subject to the non-disclosure.
Yeah, because if there's another thing that has to be voted on and approved, the different people, they're allowed to vote how they want. I was told a number of times, well, you have to vote yes on this. It's required. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and the other thing is, there were agreements signed, so then the question is going to be how, to what extent can those be enforced? And so all of this is going to end up in court in probably several different formats and lawsuits, and it's probably going to be litigated for years to come, and to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars.
And for a city the size of Festus.
So, it's a sticky wicket, as they say.
It really is. But that's the question I'll leave out there is, should we be able to recall people because we don't like the votes they take or the deals they make?
No.
See, that's where.
That's a very simple answer. No, not just for that.
Yeah.
There has to be more than that. Otherwise, we cannot function.
Got some thoughts on it? Send us notes. You agree? You disagree? Tell us what you think.
All right, another governmental news. The incumbent is swinging back. At 7:20, we'll update you on the county executive race in St. Charles County. It's getting interesting and a little feisty. I would say even maybe spicy.
Inspiration, you have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL. Colombo and Company.
Iran says it's prepared for every possible scenario as time is running out on making a peace agreement. We'll discuss the situation Thursday, plus Virginia Cruda from the Daily Wire and Dr. Randy Tobler.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, Dad, what causes drains to clog?
Grease, hair, soap scum, and tree roots.
Tree roots?
This town has old pipes and big trees. They find each other.
They grow inside pipes?
They bust into pipes.
Whoa.
Once they're in, the water stops flowing.
Can we fix it?
The big green grasser machine can fix any clog.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
Newstalk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
All right, as Susie was just saying, man, things are getting a little chippy in the race for St. Charles County Executive. This is going to make next month's debate very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And that's going to be on June 2nd. Details are at newstalkstl.com. But Steve Ellman's gotten on social media.
Uh-huh.
And so he and Weigel taking a few swings at each other.
Getting spicy.
We'll get into that here in just a minute. All right, so much news, so little time. We can be overwhelmed with it, but you shouldn't. So get the most from your news reading with, obviously, redstate.com. So, Susie, what should we check out first today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
First up today at Red State, from Ben Smith, we've got Nebraska just took a sledgehammer to the ESG machine behind corporate America. This is kind of an interesting look at some of those companies, entities behind the scenes that govern how people's investments are placed, and the overwhelming focus on ESG. Now there's a lot of state attorneys general that are pushing back on that. So Ben's got a good write-up on that. You want to check that one out. From R.C. Maxwell, our personal Pentagon correspondent, Department of War acts as Canada Defense Board over Carney's antics as Prime Minister downplays the hit. This is, some skirmishing, squabbling going back and forth between the U.S. and Canada, and things are changing now because of how things have been handled. RC's got a good look at that. Also from Bob Hogue, we've got the Nimitz enters the chat. Carrier strike group arrives in Caribbean as U.S.-Cuba tensions increase. That's right, we have a carrier strike group in the Caribbean now. Like I said, keep an eye on Cuba.
All right, 7:21 right now. Bill Eigel is, I would say, probably the most proficient social media poster of the three contenders for county executive in St. Charles County. And he's getting a lot of views. He's getting a lot of talk. But what's interesting is Steve Ellman up to this point really hasn't done the social media thing too much.
No.
And so, yes. So yesterday, last night and this morning, I go look and I start seeing him swinging back. So one of the things that Bill Eigel's been hitting hard, and to some degree, all of them have had similar comments regarding building new apartments in the county.
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's they seem to be fairly agreed that they're not going to allow more apartments in areas. But here's the thing. Bill's made it part of his platform, no more apartments in St. Charles County, et cetera, et cetera. And Steve Ellman basically took a swing back and saying, or whoever's running his account, but let's attribute it to Steve, saying, you don't know what you're talking about. The county government can only deal with unincorporated areas. There aren't that many of them. Those are city things. You need to learn what the job actually is. Mm-hmm. So just kind of going after that sort of swing at it. And so it wasn't even so much that they swung back on the policy thing. It's that he swung back at all, or he was on social media.
It's like, hello.
So that's what I'm thinking. Oh, this is going to get very interesting.
Yeah, I know. I've got so many ideas about questions I want to ask at the debate.
Yeah, and I didn't even know, because it was funny, because Steve's, like, for instance, the X account, I guess he's got a couple. There were some that we didn't. I don't think he's tweeted on in years. And it's funny because it's like, Steve's the oldest of the three contenders. And so you kind of go, well, just social media is not his thing. I mean, you get it. But if that's actually him doing that, and not, maybe it's campaign staffer, I'm like, oh, he's coming out hot on that. Because Eigel's really good at social media.
Well, right. Which, lets you know. I mean, they're in it for the fight of it, and they're going to put up a fight. And in this day and age, if you want to have an effective campaign, you kind of do have to use social media to your advantage.
Right.
And not just put out kind of bland, policy statements, that sort of thing. You have to be, willing to go toe-to-toe.
Yeah. And, Jason Law's been very, aggressive with his platform issues as well. He hasn't really gotten personal with anybody. He's drawn distinctions where he disagrees with Bill, on some tax stuff and things like that, but that's what these debates are for.
Right.
So far, I think it's been one of those things where I'm like, okay, it's going to be kind of wonky. Everybody's got different shades, but, generally you've got three conservative Republicans for the most part. So you're just going to have which conservative Republican views do you think are going to be best? Well, now I'm going, oh, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the debate coming up on June 2nd is going to be, one, even more important than what we realized. And we knew this was going to be important because it's probably going to be the biggest one of the entire campaign season. And now we're getting where everybody's basically taking shots at others' competence, because that's what Bill kind of launched that, when he was talking about Sleepy Steve and he doesn't know what's going on around him. Basically, he was doing what Trump did to Joe Biden. Difference is that I don't think Steve Ellman is Biden-esque, to that level by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But that was the picture that was being painted.
Well, right. And so, Bill's going to press his advantages. They all are. And as you made a really good point there, all three of them are Republicans, and they're all different shades of conservative even. It's not, none of them are just brand new to the Republican Party trying to wink, nudge their way into St. Charles County. They're all bona fide Republicans. So then the question is, okay, how within the right side of the political spectrum do you differentiate yourself, since they're obviously, most of us who were going to vote in that race are going to agree on like 80 to 90% of the agenda items.
Right.
Well, you're going to have to differentiate yourself by personality and, particular stances on particular issues, particular areas of expertise. So, yeah. And now that we're halfway through May, the primary's in August, the debate's in June, we are going to see things heating up. And, some people might go, it's a county executive race, whatever. Well, it's a pretty big deal for the people of St. Charles County, I can tell you that.
I would argue this is the most important election this year in the metro area. The St. Louis County executive race obviously is very, very important as well.
Yes.
But in St. Charles, when it comes to August, this is the most important one in the entire area. Obviously, St. Charles is growing. There's businesses and people who want to move to St. Charles. I would argue that you could say St. Charles is becoming, if not has already become, more of the economic center of the area. It's certainly not downtown St. Louis anymore. Is it Clayton or is it St. Charles? But I think that's more of the heartbeat of the metro area than the city even is anymore.
Well, I mean, I think there's a strong argument for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely where the growth is. That's definitely where the energy is, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Things do tend to kind of grow outward from the urban core. But yeah, I mean, think about how much St. Charles has developed over the past 20, 30 years. A tremendous amount. And it continues to grow. It's a large county. It's like geographically, when you look at it on the map, it's a large county.
And there's a lot of undeveloped
There
areas
is.
in that county. Now, not all of it can be just because of the topography and the way the hills are and stuff,
Sure.
but there's still developable. That's not even a word, I don't think, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Developable land, and that's essentially what the county and the cities are looking at, because you look at everything from revenues and population and St. Charles. It seems to me there's this vibe that says, okay, we've got enough. We're not full, but we're full enough. And then the market is still demanding people want to come in there. So how do you manage that? And that's what the next county executive is going to lead in whatever direction.
Yeah. Well, and I think that really kind of taps into the ultimate question, which is, okay, how much growth is too much?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, growth generally is considered a good thing.
Right.
But then at what point do you overdevelop? At what point do you start making it not, the place that everyone wants to, well, too much the place that everyone wants to be, so much so that it gets crowded and there's, demand on infrastructure.
And what's the government's role in that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ideally, I think, Mike, you and I agree on this, that it should be to foster a growth environment and then get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality that we live with either.
Yeah. And everybody agrees that we got to get rid of those apartment people, right?
No. I really do want to explore that, because I understand, overdevelopment, that sort of thing, but at the same time, in the draw on infrastructure. And I also understand you want, just aesthetically, you don't want a bunch of big blooming apartment complexes. But I also would love a better explainer on what exactly is it that's bad about apartments, because it kind of seems like there's this value judgment that's placed there, kind of an automatic, and I'm not sure where that's coming from.
So if I remember correctly, the explanation was that apartments are for renters, obviously, and renters don't generate the same level of property taxes despite using the same utilities, same services as everybody else does.
Which I would like to know if that's actually true, because the apartment complexes pay property taxes, and that's part of our rent.
Right.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, I would imagine if that's the sole issue or the sole rebuttal, then just make more condos then, because you can buy a condo, pay the property tax on it, and then still have people able to live in the city.
Renters pay property tax.
Yeah.
They just pay it indirectly.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other argument, and one that I do think is defensible. And that is, okay, apartments concentrate a lot of people, often young families with a lot of kids. And so you can overburden school districts in one small area. And then also they've said, but, these roads are built for, these developments with homes and stuff. And then you get 10 times more people in an apartment complex for the same roads. Okay, well, that's fair.
Sure.
This seems to me those are solvable issues. But for instance, the schools operate basically on property taxes. I mean, other sources too, but generally property taxes for the majority of it. And again, the argument that, well, these renters come in and they don't pay property taxes, that's just not
a
true.
lie.
It's just not. I mean, it's economically not true. Now, again, argue do they pay enough, and is it, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's fine. Or emergency services, we can talk about the numbers on it. But to say that renters don't contribute is just factually inaccurate.
Absolutely it is.
Well, think of all the catastrophes that they cause in traffic, you apartment dwellers, and myself included.
Well, there's some areas that actually, if you put a big apartment complex and you have smaller inlet and outlet roads and you're not prepared for it, you can cause
Right. Well, that's not on the apartment dwellers. That's on the people that constructed the place.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, June 2nd is going to be this debate at Scheidegger Center. NewsTalkSTL.com is where all the information is. You definitely want to be there for this one.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Just like I'm looking forward to all the amazing 80s bump music requests that I know you're going to flood my inbox with at Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com. Remember, this week's theme has to do with protests. I don't know why, but that was the request. So songs that either were affiliated with, a tribute, represent a movement, a protest of the 80s, or could possibly be played at a protest today. That's, again, Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Ferguson in the morning
I am not the expert on geopolitics.
on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shant Scotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shant Scott.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
From the world of you can't make this stuff up, there's a book titled The Future of Truth. Let that sink in. The Future of Truth. Just recently released, already getting significant attention, even endorsements from journalists on the extreme left. Guess that's to validate that they know the difference between truth and fiction. A leftist Nobel Peace Prize winning journalist even wrote the foreword to the book. But there is a slight issue. And the author admits, yeah, and I take full responsibility. But this is beyond ironic. It turns out that the future of truth, meant to examine how AI will distort our future and our future news coverage, has numerous fabricated or misattributed quotes created by, are you listening? Are you listening? Created by AI. The Future of Truth book has numerous falsehoods created by AI, directly misquoting sources. One even stated, I never said that. But hey, it is the future of truth. And in a way, maybe this verifies the author, showing, yeah, this book is needed.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hello, 4th of July.
Back-to-back Jack! Kerry Robinson, a hero tonight!
The Cubs visit St. Louis May 29th through the 31st for a weekend of baseball's best rivalry at Busch Stadium. The history is real, the fans are loud, and the energy in the ballpark is unmatched. Day or night, every pitch matters when these two meet. Get ready, Cardinals fans. This is what summer baseball in St. Louis is all about. Don't miss a moment of it. Get your tickets at Cardinals.com.
The weekend starts at Busch Stadium. Grab your crew and kick it off at Friday Night Live. Every Friday night home game, Budweiser Terrace turns into the hottest happy hour in the Lou. With $5 beers, $5 hot dogs, $7 margaritas, live music, and more all game long. Meet up with friends, soak in the energy, and keep the night going with baseball under the lights. Good vibes, great deals, your new Friday tradition. Get tickets now at Cardinals.com.
Dreaming about a vacation but not sure where to start? Should you book that all-inclusive resort or a cruise? Which destination? What cruise line? And how do you know you're getting the best value? That's where Magic Expeditions comes in. We're your St. Louis local travel experts, helping you choose the vacation that fits. Whether a relaxing, adults-only escape, family-friendly resort, or unforgettable cruise adventure, skip the stress, the guessing, and endless online searching. Visit MagicExpeditions.com. That's MagicExpeditions.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Unleashing energy dominance is not just about ramping up a domestic supply.
We need to be looking at other markets to be able to place our product.
Being in a stronger position to be able to export to these other countries that want it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Is it time for a new Civil Rights Act in America? Now, when you say that, the term civil rights has just connotatively changed over the years. So it gets really, really charged. But is it time to update it now that we have court rulings that say, no, maybe we should just look at people as people instead of trying to divide us among demographic stuff? So there's a proposal for that. Actually, you can learn more about that later on this morning if you want to get involved in that. We're now joined by Maddie Salamone from the Pacific Legal Foundation. And Maddie, first of all, appreciate you being on the show here. I saw that, the newsletter that I get from you all, and you all are proposing what you're calling the next Civil Rights Act, a legislative package that you're hoping that Congress would look at. But anytime you're talking about something that encompassing, you're talking about a big deal, and if nothing else, trying to kickstart a big conversation as to how we should look at civil rights. So I know the details are forthcoming later today, but give me kind of the reason you think we should have this conversation again in 2026 and 2027, when we've had this conversation for generations before.
Yeah, well, we think, in conjunction with the 250th anniversary of our nation, it's time to get back to what the Constitution actually says. We think it's pretty clear from the text of the Constitution, but this is really about reinforcing what it's always said, which is you can't discriminate on the basis of race and sex, and that all Americans should be on equal playing field. Unfortunately, since about the 1970s, the federal government has been slowly watering that down by providing race and sex-based preferences in many different capacities within government. And so this is really aimed at, in two parts, which is one on the equality side, which says the government shouldn't discriminate on the basis of race and sex, and that also the government shouldn't interfere with other aspects of life, like earning a living, being entrepreneurial, educating your children, and accessing health care.
Good morning, Maddie. This is Susie Moore. I wonder, if we generally agree, and the courts have kind of upheld this, that the Constitution does protect and protect against discrimination on the basis of race and sex. Is this a situation where we need to keep layering more and more laws on top of that, or just strip away what's there to kind of get back to that basic foundational principle?
I think in many ways it's about stripping away, both at the federal level and at the state level. Because within many systems of government, there are all of these processes in place that basically favor different groups over others. And it's not obvious from the surface. It's why I think it's going to take an act of Congress, not simply an executive order, because as we at PLF have kind of dug really deep into different areas of the U.S. Code and how different agencies operate and how their hiring practices are, how they find contractors. It's really ingrained at this point. And so it's about kind of undoing what's been done over decades at this point.
Maddie, give me an example of something that would need to be undone if the next Civil Rights Act is passed, and you would take sort of this colorblind, gender blind approach to things. What's something that's happening right now that would have to change in order to reach this goal?
So there are programs like the Small Business Administration's 8A Business Development Program and the Department of Transportation's Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Initiative. These are programs where these agencies essentially are targeting specific owners, not in some cases pushing out individual contractors who have been doing a really good job for the government. And instead of awarding certain contracts based on merit, they're looking for people to fill a certain demographic. And so you've had all of these businesses really benefiting from being called disadvantaged simply because the owner is, or system of owners are 51% one race or one gender, and over time, they've really benefited from gaining these government contracts. They have not had to fill out any paperwork really to continue to be awarded these contracts and these programs that were aimed at, giving maybe people that we want to see succeed a leg up. But what's happened is it's just another form of discrimination, and it's really disincentivized people who have worked really hard to build up a business and that are doing it successfully from doing that. And at the same time, you're talking about taxpayer money that is going into these programs and being spent very inefficiently. And it's just been over time, that's just how these contracts are awarded. That's just how these programs are operated. And it's about unwinding all of that.
This might be getting a little into the weeds, but how much, since a lot of what we're talking about is sort of regulatory action, how much effect has the Supreme Court's recent decisions like Loper Bright, things that rolled back the Chevron doctrine, that sort of thing, how much of an effect or an opportunity, I guess, does that give to strip away some of these discriminatory practices?
I think it certainly gives a leg to stand on. There's also Students for Fair Admission to Harvard. That's one that really made it clear that racial classifications in government programs do not survive constitutional scrutiny. The problem is this has been going on for a while, and so even though there may be a favorable ruling that really reinforces what the Constitution says, it still takes time to make sure that there are not programs that are continuing to operate against the Constitution. So it's why you continue to see litigation. It's why we continue to be involved in cases that hit on that specific issue, because yes, you have a favorable ruling, but that allows you to use it in the lower courts and above after that. So, it's a continued legal battle.
We're visiting with Maddie Salamone from the Pacific Legal Foundation. Maddie, a lot of the so-called civil rights laws and these programs that had women business enterprises and minority business enterprises that were set-asides for these. The argument was, but that's to make up for past discrimination and to try to level the playing field and make it more equal and competitive. Have we accomplished that goal, or was that misguided in its application to start with? Because it did say, if you're in one of these demographics, that we're going to set aside an opportunity for you, because the argument was at the time, you likely weren't going to get it anyway because of the demographic that you're in. So that's going to be the argument against this type of approach.
Well, I think the problem is when you look at an entire demographic and say, okay, because you're a woman or because your skin is a certain color, you are automatically disadvantaged. That's very disempowering, number one. But it also doesn't require those groups to then prove that they're actually disadvantaged. Some individuals within those groups are not, right? I mean, in any demographic, there are wildly successful individuals, and then there are people who have not maybe been given the same advantages in life, and maybe we want to target those. But simply going after one demographic at large doesn't do that. And what's happened with these programs over time is now these businesses have now been successful for years because they've been given those advantages. They're no longer actually disadvantaged, but they're still reaping the benefits of these programs that are aimed at disadvantaged businesses or individuals.
You kind of touched on this or hinted at it, and it's that in order for this to actually be effective, it needs to be something more structural, like from Congress, as opposed to an executive order. And presumably that's because, the executive changes every 4 years, or at least every 8 years. So you need something that's going to be a little more lasting. But how do you push something like this to the forefront in a severely divided Congress, one that can't even get its own budget done? How do you move something like this forward?
I mean, I think it's very challenging, and that's very true. I think there is interest in moving certain things forward, and I think it's about getting the messaging out there that some of these programs that I think were maybe well-intended at their outset are really having the opposite impact, and they're negatively impacting constituents of these congressional members. It's kind of presenting those stories of why these programs, though they may sound good to certain people, in practice are actually really harmful, are costing taxpayers money, are not really even helping people in disadvantaged groups. They're just allowing people who can take advantage of the system to continue to win.
All right, Maddie Salamone from the Pacific Legal Foundation. You all are going to be, unveiling the entire 10-point proposal here later today, actually. So if people want to learn more about this, what's the way to do that or be involved in the announcement or just track what you're doing in case they want to put this on the radar of their representatives?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways is to go to nextcivilrightsact.org or .com. We have both. And you can track, we have the bills that are part of this package listed, 3 of which have been introduced in this Congress, and 7 of which are model bills. And there's a way to get alerts if you sign up at the bottom of our website. That's probably the best way to follow us.
All right. And did I read that there's some kind of, announcement today that's happening on this?
Yes, we also have a webinar. You can go to our website and get information about that and sign up if you're interested in listening. That is taking place at 11 o'clock today, Eastern time.
Yeah, so 10 o'clock here in the St. Louis
Mm-hmm.
area. All right, Maddie, appreciate the information. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maddie. The Justice Department gets an indictment of another former foreign leader over something that happened 30 years ago. We're going to tell you about that in the news dump at 7:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
What was once considered radical is now mainstream.
On News Talk STL.
All right, maybe you're looking forward to the next hunting season, or you're looking at Memorial Day weekend and saying, time for a float trip, time to go camping. Hey, listen, you got to talk to my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors to get those last-minute things to make sure your trip is awesome. They've got just about everything you need. And here's the thing, it's high-quality hunters. They've got everything you need. I am telling you. WhistlePigOutdoors.com is where you learn more. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, right there on Main Street. Yes, Whistle Pig Outdoors is a good website. They've got everything there, your special deals and everything. But here's the thing. Go up to Whistle Pig. Check it out in person. I love that store. It is so much fun to be there. Whether you need ammo, whether you need a big cooler for the party or the float trip, whether you need waders for the hunting, how about decoys? Not only do they have them, but they have the highest quality ones because Jason and Cole, the father and son who run Whistle Pig, they're outdoorsmen too. They're hunters too. Archery, firearms, they've got you set up with the ammo. And archery, they can actually get you the bow and the arrows, and the tech can service whatever your gear is. Whistle Pig Outdoors, check him out. Go visit him and say hi and tell him Mike was bragging about him on the radio, and that I also love the rub that they gave me for my cookouts and stuff. I'm telling you, the turkey and the chicken never tasted better. They've got that right there at the front counter as well. I'm telling you, check it out. Really good stuff. WhistlePigOutdoors.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
When they called me broken, I knew. When they called me evil, I knew.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, that recall effort in Festus, that could get stopped before it even gets to the ballot. At least there's an effort to do that.
That's what happens when lawyers get involved.
Yeah, and a massive data center project is coming to the Show Me State. Those of you on the western edge of the NewsTalkSTL listing area, we're talking about your neighborhood, talking about your back. Now we're talking about your neighborhood. We're talking about the farmland near your neighborhood.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about here. And Missouri's pro-life community revved up the fight for Amendment 3 last night. Susie and I were there.
We were.
Steve Rupp from Missouri Right to Life is going to be with us in about 10 minutes or so to give us an update on that. It was more than just well, what a cool event. Aren't we all nice and having fun as pro-life people? Let's have the braised steak, which was tasty.
It was good.
It was a lot to it there. All right, 7:53 right now. Let's go ahead and sneak in another news dump here.
Wake up, America. It all worked out. They get all the news. The morning news dump.
Okay, I would dismiss it and just say let's have fun with the drama, but this is really important to the people of Festus.
It is.
This is crucial here. The mayor and the council members are pushing back in Fenton in response to a recall petition filed against them. I said Fenton again.
You did.
Festus. I wrote my copy
I
wrong.
see it.
That's what it was. Okay.
You need a copy editor.
Yeah.
Just saying.
In response to a recall petition filed against them this week, a lawyer for Festus Mayor Sam Richards and Festus council members Mike Cook, David Boyer, and Kevin Dennis, that lawyer is arguing that the petition recall does not meet the legal requirements to be put on the ballot. And specifically what their lawyer, Chuck Heffield, is arguing is that the petition does not cite a specific legal duty that was violated. Activists in the community are trying to recall the officials for supporting a data center project. The county clerk has just over a week left to certify the petition for the ballot or to reject it. The reality is, Susie, I think what's going to happen is this is ending up in court.
Yeah, I think that's a given at this point.
Because doesn't everything end up in court?
Pretty much.
I wanted to get some coffee the other day. It ended up in court.
Yeah.
It was bad.
That's the way it goes.
Okay.
Lawyers.
Governor Mike Kehoe and Google announced a massive data center project in mid-Missouri, just basically west of Warrenton. KMOV's Corey Stark has the details.
A $15 billion investment, and it's right next to an already approved $35 billion data center run by Amazon. So the next time you drive to Columbia on I-70, instead of farm fields, you could see these huge tech centers. They're slated to go in Montgomery County near New Florence, 20 miles west of Warrenton. The two data centers combined would take up nearly 2,000 acres. So just for perspective here, Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village take up 28 acres. So that is roughly the size of 70 Busch stadiums.
Governor Kehoe says Google will be paying 100% of the utility cost of running the center and will also be paying for the infrastructure that will needed to be built and expanded for the project.
That's key.
Yep, it is. All right, the Department of Justice announcing an anticipated indictment of former Cuban President Raul Castro on Wednesday. White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, that's Stephen Miller, was on Fox's Jesse Waters Primetime with his reaction to that indictment.
President Trump, through his leadership and his vision, has brought us closer than ever to the day when Cuba will be free and when Cuba will no longer be a threat to America, but Cuba will be a friend and partner.
Okay, we're bombing them, aren't we? We're about to invade Cuba.
President Trump said they're next. So.
They're next. we're gonna.
I do think this could be absolute resolve redux. I think this weekend would be a good time to keep an eye on Cuba and the Caribbean. But I will also point out that this indictment, this superseding indictment, was filed April 23rd. It's already been filed. They just announced it yesterday.
They just announced it, yeah. And this is over the shooting down of a civilian airplane of an activist group. Yeah.
Well, and to be clear, the case was filed in 2003. Mm-hmm. So with an initial indictment. This is the superseding indictment that includes additional defendants and names, more details in it.
Yeah. We're invading Cuba, aren't we? We're going to bomb Cuba.
That was always the plan.
I think, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Cardinals fans started a trend, tarps off. You've seen this?
No.
Okay. Meaning take your shirt off and wave it around like a rally towel.
Oh, wait a second. Hang on a second.
So this started with the Stephen F. Austin Club baseball team last Friday at Busch Stadium. It went crazy. Now fans are doing it all over the country. I saw it at the Battlehawks game last weekend. The Cards have responded by now designating an official tarps off fan section at Busch Stadium. It's in the upper right field bleachers, sections 107, 109, and 111. If
Ladies,
you want to
just
do
prepare accordingly. Make sure you've got a cute bikini top
There
on. That's
you
all
go.
I'm saying.
And if you have my bill, don't do it.
And unfortunately, the Cardinals did lose to the Pirates yesterday. Game 3 of that series, the deciding game, starts at 12:15 today.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Rasmussen. Insisting he's in no rush to make a deal with Iran, President Trump tells reporters, "We're going to give this one shot." Mr. Trump insisting he will not be pressured into making a deal, even with the crucial midterm elections fast approaching. Iran is currently reviewing the latest American proposal for ending hostilities. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the House is preparing for a vote on a Democratic-sponsored resolution that would force the president to quit the war. Previous votes on similar resolutions have repeatedly failed, but the Democrats hope for a different outcome this time. The White House argues that the requirements of the War Powers Resolution of 1973 do not apply in this case because there is a ceasefire with Iran. Former Cuban President Raul Castro has been indicted in the U.S. for his alleged role in the 1996 downing of civilian aircraft operated by Miami-based exiles.
As alleged in the indictment, Raul Castro and 5 co-defendants participated in a conspiracy that ended with Cuban military aircraft firing missiles at those civilian planes and killing 4 Americans.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, he says Castro was Cuba's defense minister at the time of the shootdown.
This isn't a show indictment. This is an indictment because we expect that there was a warrant issued for his arrest. So we expect that he will show up here by his own will or by another way.
President Trump calls the indictment of Castro a very big moment for Cuban Americans. Speedy deliveries and lower prices gave Walmart a nice bottom-line boost in its latest quarter. However, the nation's largest retailer is cautious about what to expect for the balance of the year, citing an atmosphere of economic uncertainty. On Wall Street, stock futures in the red. The Dow futures are down 149 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options, debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Gotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time, make this free call now, and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
A little bit earlier, Susie and I gave just kind of our recap of the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again event that happened last night in St. Charles. And here's where we start. We used to call these things the rubber chicken circuit. Now, the food was really good. It wasn't that. But you go to a banquet and you know it's for a cause and you go there showing up to support it and you know that you're going to probably donate some money and you're going to hear something inspirational. And all of that happened. But it was different. This one was a lot different. It was much bigger than that. And so I was talking to my friend Steve Rupp, who joins us right now, president of Missouri Right to Life. And yes, Steve, it was sold out. It was a beautiful event. The staff did a great job. Your team did a fantastic job. Riley Gaines was amazing. It was such a good event. But here's the thing, Steve, is that what was different, and this is what people were talking about amongst us at the tables here, is that we were talking about we're leaving with the resources to go help win this fight for Amendment 3. And then I want to talk about some of the messaging that Jessica gave us here. But this wasn't just come here, here's a nice folder, please make a donation. We walked out with something instead of just being asked for something. And I think that was as encouraging as other things, because not only was it a matter of we have to win. It's here's how we can do it, and here's what you can do to contribute to that.
We are very blessed to have Jessica on our team, no question. And thank you, Mike and Susie, for showing up last night. Having you there was really it was energizing for me and for us, and I hope it was for you. And it sounds like it was.
Yeah. Definitely, without a doubt. So, we could spend the next, 7 minutes or so just talking about how great it was and how great it is to be pro-life. But Steve, let's get real. The purpose of this is to set the stage for whatever the time frame is we have to get Amendment 3 passed. And I thought it was just a lot of blunt honesty, including with you when you started in saying, passing Amendment 3 is not going to ban every abortion in Missouri. And there are people who aren't going to like that. But the reality is that voters aren't going to go for a total ban. We need to make it clear that what this does is probably saving, 95% of the babies or so. But in those extreme cases that the pro-abortion crowd wants to exploit so much, this matches where Missourians are. So telling the truth matters, but the way we tell the truth matters even more. What is it we need to know as far as that aspect of it? Then I want to get into what Jessica from Axios had to say regarding the messaging, what people react to regarding women and babies.
Yeah, and you hit the key word. The key word was truth. Scripture tells us the truth will set you free. And the truth is that every life is sacred. Every single life is sacred, and it is sacred from the moment of conception when that life began. Because we all know that everybody's life began at the moment of conception. We all know that, and it's indisputable scientifically. And interestingly, the party that says that they're all about science ignores the science of when life begins. And so we didn't ignore it, and we do know, as you said, Mike, we do know that there are people out there that say, well, yeah, I'm against abortion, but. And it's those people that say, but, that we've got to win them over. We got to win them to say, hey, what is in our Constitution right now is extreme. It is really, really extreme. It allows abortion literally from the moment of conception to the very moment of birth, with no exceptions whatsoever. And so we've got to do something about that. We can't allow that to be in our state constitution. And that's what we were talking about last night, is how do we do that? And we do that, and Jessica talked about it. We need to get people to the polls. We need to educate people and then get them to the polls. Because Missouri is a pro-life state, and being a pro-life state, if just the pro-life people show up at the polls, we're going to win. There's no question about that. But getting them out to the polls is going to be key. And it looks like it's going to be November. If I was a betting man, I'd say it's going to be in November. And we should find out by the end of the week whether it's going to be August or November. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be November.
Yeah, I think the governor actually has a legal deadline to announce it. If it's going to, so I think you're right. We're going to find out this week. We're visiting with Steve Rupp from Missouri Right to Life. Okay, let's talk about one of the things that Susie mentioned earlier that she said it was hard to hear. And that is when we were hearing, what is it that the people who can be reasoned with, the people who are in that sort of, up for grabs votes, is that they care more about women than they do about babies. And those of us who are pro-life, that's hard to hear because babies are innocent. This is the most innocent, the most vulnerable of all of us here. But when it comes to a vote, yes, we're saving the babies, but it's really got to be about protecting women, not even just from the medical atrocities, but everything from human trafficking and everything else. Speak to that a little bit, because when we're out trying to win our friends and everything over, so much of the conversation we're tempted to get emotional over saving innocent babies, which is absolutely a virtuous thing to do. But when it comes to getting Amendment 3 passed, what do we need to know about those conversations? Because, Steve, what you and I are doing right now is telling thousands of people, here's how we tell people the truth and win people over.
The abortion industry has had 50-plus years of making this a woman's issue, completely ignoring the child in the womb. And the reality of it is that's the way it is. This has become a woman's issue. Now, we need in long term to be able to win people's hearts to what happened to that innocent child. You may have seen that Brandon Gill, Congressman Brandon Gill's testimony and asking a pro-abortion person, what's your favorite type of abortion? That has gone viral. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous video, and it's a tremendous message. Let's not forget about the baby. But the reality of it is they have made this a women's issue, and we've got to address it from that perspective. As a matter of fact, you might remember Jessica saying, that Planned Parenthood was suing them because they were emulating their ads. They were taking their ads because they've been successful. Those ads have been successful in winning people over to this is a woman's issue. And so Jessica took that and said, let's do their ads only on a pro-life perspective rather than a pro-abortion perspective, which is brilliant. But they have cast this as a women's issue, and we've got to fight that battle.
Yeah, so you're asking people, I felt challenged to reset how I talk about this. Maybe not how I think about life in general, because, we're talking about life for people of all ages. But when it comes to setting and resetting the discussion, I felt challenged to rethink how I talk to people about this. Is it fair to say that's what you're asking people to do, is be challenged to rethink strategically how we discuss what Amendment 3 and what abortion is all about?
The bottom line is we want to win Amendment 3.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. And in order to do that, we've got to say, well, I'm motivated by the horror of what abortion is and what it does to a child. But that's not the whole populace. Many people when you start talking about that, they just say, no, that's not the issue. The issue is about women. What about women? Well, then let's talk about it from a women's perspective. Let's talk about the fact that women that are maimed in an abortion have no legal right. They have no legal recourse whatsoever with Amendment 3 in our Constitution. None. They've taken health and safety standards away. If a woman goes into a Planned Parenthood, she should have, and something happens, she should have the ability to be able to get out of there to the hospital quickly, and they don't have hallways big enough to fit a gurney. So she's got to wait, and those are not women. Those are not good for women's health. Those things are not good for women's health. Having equipment that is sterilized, that it is in our state constitution that they don't have to have sterilized equipment in those places. They've taken away all health and safety standards. It's incredible to even think about that. So women should be up in arms about that, and we have to fight the battle on that level. Yeah,
and of course there's going to be resources at Missouri Right to Life's pages, which we'll give out here in just a minute. Steve, we've got a couple minutes left. Riley Gaines. Oh my goodness. What I mean, I knew she was going to be good as far as like a good dynamic speaker, even though she's so young. Steve, I was blown away by her poise and the way she tied everything from the gender mutilation nonsense into the pro-life movement. I thought she told a phenomenal story, but also she is exactly the kind of voice that is needed to reach out to not just young women who are going to be at the center of this, but the people who have young women in their lives. She was the real deal. I could not have been more impressed.
She did not have a single note. She stood up there for 45 minutes without a note and just spoke from the heart. And she is so bright. She is really bright. And you're right. She tied it together. When you think about, people say, well, this transgender issue isn't a life issue. Well, isn't it really? Well, I mean, if you think about it for a moment, if you're taking these children that are 11 and 12 and 13 years old and castrating them chemically and physically, you are preventing life from ever happening in that child's life. They will never be able to have children. I mean, that is a life issue. When we're all about protecting life and protecting life from its beginning, and there will be no beginning there. There will be no life there because they've been sold this lie that they were born in the wrong body. And she did a tremendous job of putting those things together and relating them to the life issue, which it is.
Yep, exactly. All right, Steve Rupp from Missouri Right to Life. I mean, we're just getting started here. Obviously, this is a long road to go. I thought what you had to say last night as far as last time they, meaning the pro-abortion, pro-death side, they got to set the terms and we were on our heels and we were trying to answer them. Now we are setting the tone for this as well. So this is not a thing where people necessarily need to get super partisan on this, but we need people to be passionate about it and know how to influence and reach the people around them. Because, Steve, there are going to be people who say, well, there's nothing I can do. I just work in the office. I mean, I just
Sure.
go to my kids' soccer games. There's nothing I can do. But this is going to come down to probably a very small number of votes one way or the other. How do people equip themselves with the research and with the backgrounds that all of us can digest, that they can put into conversation every day, because we need people to do it?
Yeah, I would suggest that they get on our Missouri Right to Life website. It's MissouriLife.org and join, and they'll get a day or a weekly lifeline on Fridays that updates them on what's happening in this battle and what they can do to be able to affect the people that they have influence with. Because that's really the key. And Jessica said this, and Riley said this both. You've got to talk to the people that you have influence with and make sure they vote yes. Not just one or two of them, but 20 of them or 30 of them. Everybody that you have influence with. And if we do that, we're going to win.
Yeah, because
and if they stay educated by being on our website and getting those updates on a regular basis, they're going to be able to argue, for life with the people that they have influence with.
Yeah, because as there's going to be a big flurry of news coverage of this here in the next couple of days when the governor announces when this is going to be on the ballot, and then it's just going to ramp up from there, and we need everybody engaged because one person who could change or motivate the votes of 20 or 25 people, which is not that hard to think of, you multiply that by however many thousands of people are listening to our voices right now or through the podcast. This makes a difference, and if they do the same thing, this is something where we could truly save lives in Missouri.
Absolutely, without question.
All right, let's get out the website one more time, Steve.
It's MissouriLife.org.
Great. Steve, good to talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Mike, thank you. Susie, thank you for being there again last night. God bless you both.
All right, let's ask a question here. This whole thing in Festus. Man, we've gone over what the voters are upset about as far as the data center goes and the deals that were made. We get that. But there's a bigger question now being raised is whether it is impeachment at the national level, whether it is recall at a local level. What should be the limits on that, if any? Because I think it's an interesting question on the pushback. So right around 8:21, let's talk about that. I'm curious what you think about that right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away. Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
It happened again last night, and it's kind of awkward for me to talk about this because, when I get somebody who compliments or asks me that question, Mike, what are you doing different? You look like you're in better shape. You look stronger. Had a couple of people ask me that last night at the Pro-Life event. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Nutrition Stop. And yeah, I do work out pretty hard, and obviously I play baseball and stuff like that. But let me tell you where most of my health improvement has come from. It's what I put into my body and what I put on my body. Think about this. Barbara from Nutrition Stop was telling me a couple months ago, and this really stuck out to me. And she just said it in passing. She said, it's amazing. People who really love their car will spare no expense and make sure that they have all the right fluids and all the right parts and all the preventative maintenance to take care of that car they love. But then they'll go put a bunch of junk in their body. They'll go put a bunch of aluminum-based chemicals on their deodorant, on their skin. They'll go, brush their teeth with stuff that's got a bunch of artificial ingredients, and they'll eat food that's super processed and really bad for you and not think twice about it. You don't have to do that. Go to Nutrition Stop, nutritionstop.com, right there on Mexico Road in St. Peter's. Just put in Nutrition Stop in your maps. It'll take you right there and say, hey, what are you guys doing for Mike? What's Mike doing? Because this is where I get my nutrition supplements. This is where I get a lot of my food. This is where I get my multivitamins and my protein. Nutritionstop.com. They have improved my life and my health, and they'll do it for you as well. Make your family and make your life healthy again.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hi, this is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder reminding you to check out my new show this weekend.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
That's me. Every Sunday evening at 5, we will explore with you behind-the-scenes stories and information that you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, we talk to decision makers and influencers that have impact on what's going on in St. Louis County and beyond.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby, only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no.
It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
That's all kind of folksy, kind of summery.
Yeah, this was just hanging out in your music folder. I've never heard of the band, so
Who
I
is
figured this is Full Day Affair.
Never heard of them.
Little Things, yeah. I'm guessing
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of skipping along the riverbank.
It feels feel good.
Go down to the creek.
Yeah, get the trip going. Just go for a country road drive, right?
Kind of like it. I mean, I'm a metal guy, but I like it. It's kind of fun.
Every now and then, you just need something that just feels good to listen to, right?
Exactly. All right, 8:23. Okay, so this thing in Festus, I'm fascinated by it. It's not even just Festus. We know there's a broader Jefferson County pushback here as well. But the data center thing is that this is one particular debate, and we've heard both sides of it on the show. We've got, for instance, Kirk Hilsinger is very pro data center, and we've had some others who are people in the building here very pro data center. Other people in the building not fans of data center. Like you're not a big fan.
I'm not a fan of data centers.
And we've talked to other people who aren't in favor of them. And so one thing is there's the data center discussion, and I think there are some people who are arguing based on kind of a fear contagion, both sides as well. But then you're bringing this into a whole new question that's much bigger than just data centers, right? And so in Festus, the same people who threw out the council members in April, they say, let's go get the rest of them. Now, you're enough of a throw the bums out kind of guy that I think sometimes you're like, throw them out. What'd they do?
Yes.
Go get them. Tell me why later.
Guilty. Now make your case.
That's right. So there's a little bit of that. And what's interesting is what's being argued is that the mayor and these three council members who are being targeted by the recall effort, they are pushing back, and they've hired an attorney, a very skilled attorney. Now, when Chuck gets involved in the political stuff, he's generally on the other side from what we do, but he's a good attorney. He's very, very good. He's been around for a long time. I've only met him a couple of times. He probably doesn't even know who I am, but I've run into him a couple of times. He's really good at what he does. So here's the thing is he has sent a letter, attorney representing these guys' letter, to the county clerk saying, we ask that you reject this recall petition because he's arguing it doesn't meet the legal scrutiny to be on the ballot. Now, if you're the clerk, if you're Ms. Goff in Jefferson County, you don't want any part of this. She was elected to basically put stuff on the ballot, count the votes, do all the other things business-wise that the county clerk does. You don't sign up for this when you're the clerk. This isn't the clerk's domain. Either the signatures were in, the petition was in the right format, yes, no, let the voters decide and do your thing. So regardless of what's decided, it's not the county clerk's fault, okay? Mm-hmm. It's just not. Don't get mad at her. She's caught in the middle here.
Well, if she doesn't side with them, we're recalling her too.
Right, exactly. and that's the thing is somebody's going to get mad one way or the other, and she didn't have anything to do with this. She's just there. Okay, so they're saying that the law in Missouri specifically says if you're going to do a recall, that you need to cite specifically which duties, which laws have been violated.
And I'm going to take a wild guess and say rejecting data centers when they're unpopular is not one of those duties.
See, but the key word there is unpopular. What you just said, that's the thing. And clearly this is unpopular. Now, they could argue sometimes elected officials or appointed officials feel like they have to make a decision that's unpopular if it's what's best for the community that they're there to serve. That's the difference between a Republican and a democracy. And then you got to answer for it the next election.
There is something to be said about you may not want to take the medicine, but it's still good for you.
Right. And so you can argue they didn't do this. They should have been more forthcoming. They should have been more forthright. They should have been, that sort of thing. But are there any arguments that they broke the law, that they broke city ordinances? So whether you're for or against the data centers is one thing, and that's not where I'm at with the discussion right now. The other is, what's the question of, should we have the ability to recall elected officials because we get mad at them, because we don't like the votes that they took, because we don't like the decisions that we made? That's my question. That's an open-ended question. What's the answer?
I guess it's a double-edged sword, because I think I'm very much against data centers for a number of reasons, including just how deceptive a lot of the advertising of them has become, and the residual effects that a lot of people are not considering. But at the same time, if we have to apply the flip test, is it something where there's going to be something that conservatives, Republicans do, libertarians maybe even do, that would be really good, would actually be beneficial to people, but because of where we are politically, on principle, that a bunch of Democrats could get together and then issue a recall because they're upset about it, even if it's the right thing to do. So
yeah.
I like the idea of being able to hold government officials accountable, because I've seen some of the videos of the Festus anti-data centers packed. I mean, this was not just a handful of not in my backyard people. This was an entire community coming together. This was very clearly something that they were like, no, absolutely not. And the politician said, well, yes. In that instance, it's not that maybe you should have the ability to, but why would you not? If it's that much of a deal breaker for them, why would you not have the ability?
Okay, so the argument being is, and if you got some thoughts on this, chime in on social media. Jerome's keeping an eye on that, or give me a call, 314-912-1019. We got a couple minutes left here. But the argument is, but that's what elections are for. Elections are referendums on the jobs that they've done. Is that they're elected for a 2-year term in almost every city council, which I think it's 2-year term in Festus. They almost all are. Third-class cities are generally 2-year terms. And so you're elected to hire to do a job. You did a good job. You did a bad job. You're fired. And they just did that to half the city council. And so everybody else is going to be up for election in less than a year. And if you have that kind of instability to where if somebody's good enough for a recall petition, and they can circulate that, and they can gin up people being angry for any reason, legitimate or not, what kind of stability does your government have, and how responsive can it be to everybody if you can be recalled for anything because you don't like the vote on, I wanted this to be Smith Lane instead of Jackson Drive, or anything else, taking it to an extreme on this. But the answer to your question is, well, isn't that what the elections are for? And they're never that far apart. So what do you think? 314-912-1019. I think I could squeeze, what do you think, Jerome? Another 90 seconds out of this probably. I think we can do this because I think it's a fair question. There's the question of whether or not they made the right decision on the data center deal. I can be influenced either way on that. But then there's the question of, is a recall for things like this? Or should there be a standard that says, no, you broke the law, you broke the ordinances, you broke some ethical thing. It's got to be beyond just, I don't like how you voted.
Yeah, and we have about 60 seconds left, but we do have a call from Tom.
Tom, okay, so Tom, tell me what you think. Convince me one way or the other. Just know, like Jerome says, I got about 60 seconds left.
Well, Granite City's been a lot of hubbub there exploring the idea if they come here. And all I know is the big thing is the majority of the people from signs and everything, they don't want it here. And they keep saying, well, it'll lower taxes. But I've never seen anybody lower taxes. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway.
All right.
Would you support a recall if they come there anyways with the data centers?
I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yep. All right, Tom, appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, Granite, of course, Granite's had the big industrial. They've had a rough time in Granite with some job losses just with the economy and everything there as well. All right, 314-912-1019. We got a lot of ground to cover here. later today as well. Also, let us know on social media here, 1019-941 News.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shant Scotch with your first alert forecast. Looking at a dry day today. Temperatures a little bit chillier once again into the lower 70s. Then into Friday, more chances of scattered showers. That'll look to impact the area as we head towards the noon to afternoon hours, eventually peeling out as we look off into Saturday. Temperatures back towards the lower 80s. Could see some isolated chances of some showers and storms both Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Still mostly going to be looking at dry time as temperatures continue to rise. Going to be a warmer holiday weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Scott.
Fox News commentary with Brian Kilmeade next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Here's Brian Kilmeade.
You know, there's a civil war brewing inside the Democratic Party, and it's not really between liberals and moderates anymore. It's between the old guard and a new, louder, far-left movement that isn't afraid to say the quiet part out loud. Yep, we're talking about self-described socialists, mixed in Islamists. For Republicans, they know all about how to wrangle in groups in their party that tend to go out on their own. Remember, they had the Tea Party, they had the Freedom Caucus. But the big difference, one wants to improve the country, the other one wants to change our country. Don't change the country, that's not for me. But this movement does have the momentum. They got the big crowds. They are winning a lot of primaries. And they're pushing Democrats further left than ever before, or into silence. What do they stand for? Not capitalism, not America's founding ideals. Terms like communist that used to end political careers are now being worn like a badge of honor on the left.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Got scrap metal, junk cars, or old appliances taking up space? Turn that clutter into cash. Since 1968, 21 Recycling and Scrap Metal has been the area's trusted name for recycling. We buy copper, brass, aluminum cans, scrap iron, wheels, catalytic converters, AC units, water heaters, washers, dryers, and yes, junk cars too. With our brand new truck scale on premises, getting paid is fast and easy. Old Highway 21 by Highway M or 21-recycling.com.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
You know, there are words and terms that get used a lot when we're talking about the direction that our policy is going, our politics is going, and our culture is going. You know, things like, you know, the battle for America's soul or the elite and things like that. But when you look at how America and our policy and politics are all changing, it's the stakes are just, they couldn't be higher.
absolutely.
And when the stakes are that high, people will do whatever it takes to win and maintain control. So Scott Rasmussen, new book that's out this week, actually, you would know the name, Rasmussen Polls, co-founder of ESPN. He's been polling for over 13 election cycles. New book that just came out just days ago, Out of Touch, the Elite 1% and the Battle for America's Soul. And he joins us right now. And Scott, first of all, appreciate you being on the program. You're tying in a lot of the things that are happening, but I'm taking this, having admittedly not read the book yet, but we're talking about a lot of the things we're arguing over could be symptoms of a bigger picture of trying to maintain control and what our political elite and what the cultural elite will do to maintain that control. Is that a good starting point for the discussion?
I think it's a great starting point for the discussion. I started polling a long time ago for the term limits movement, and I was always shocked because every poll shows term limits is supported by 75% or 80% of voters, Republicans, Democrats, young, old, doesn't matter. And yet, in the political world back then, they kept writing about how controversial an issue it was. And I thought that was crazy. Well, it turns out people in Washington thought it was controversial, and they didn't care about what voters thought. So I've spent most of my career trying to figure out what's going on. How do you define that? And right now we're in a place where we do have an elite 1%. We'll talk about them in a minute. Yeah. But they really don't believe in America's founding ideals. They reject the notion of freedom, equality, and self-governance. In fact, among the group that we call the politically active elites, their view of America is that we have too much individual freedom. And, that's where they see the problem. Most everybody else sees we don't have enough freedom as the problem.
How do you define who the elite are? I mean, because we're talking about, an us versus them thing. Who's them? I mean, who are the ones that wield the power that see things so differently?
Yeah, so the group that we identified as the elite 1% have three characteristics. First of all, they have a postgraduate degree. This is something that gets lost a lot of the political debate. You hear about the diploma divide where people with a college degree tend to be more Democratic and without a degree more Republican. But the truth is it's postgrads who are different from everybody else. People with a college degree are typically closer to the views of those without a degree than the postgrads. So that's our first category. The second, they live in a densely populated urban area, 10,000 people per square mile or more, and they make a lot of money. We found this because I kept looking at polls day after day, week after week, and noticing that these three groups individually were out of touch with most of America. And I began to theorize what would happen if you had all three of these together. In other words, if you have a postgraduate degree and you go to live in Manhattan, you might have different values than somebody who has a postgraduate degree and goes to live in, Cedar Rapids or somewhere else. And that turned out to be the case. This group overwhelmingly trusts the federal government and don't trust the voters. In fact, half of the politically active elites don't think you should be allowed to vote unless you have a college degree.
Wow. All right, we're visiting with Scott Rasmussen, and we'll remind you about the book here in just a moment. Let's talk about some of your polling of this elite category of people you're talking about. 69%, 7 out of 10 of them say that they would want their candidate to cheat to win an election than rather to accept the voters' decisions. And we see that sometimes elections are decided in the courts as much as they are at the ballot box. What are the types of things that they're willing to go to win? Because this just speaks to how the stakes are so high. And I would argue that means government's way too big and intrusive and powerful to start with. But if they're willing to cheat, what are they willing to do? And then what does that say for this sort of social cohesion or that foundation of our communities if we've got so many powerful people saying, no, I think it's okay to cheat as long as I win?
Yeah, let's start with the fact we asked that same question of registered voters. And, the question is basically, if your candidate lost a close election, but their team thought they could cheat and win, what would you want them to do? And among voters, only 7% say they'd want their team to cheat and win. Now, I wish that was 1 or 2% or 0 or something, but 7% isn't horrible. 10 times as many among the elites would cheat. And it's part of a pattern that we see. They believe if a bureaucrat thinks a rule is needed and they know that voters are strongly opposed to it, they think that person should ignore the voters. It gets right back to an idea, and this is where the battle for America's soul comes in. Who is supposed to be in charge? This elitist worldview is that our betters, they are destined to rule over us, and we would all be better off if we just listened to them and followed the rules. That's an explicit rejection of the Declaration of Independence and America's history. I trace it back to Woodrow Wilson, a man I consider the worst president of all time.
Yep.
He complained that the American people have never gotten over the Declaration of Independence. That's what the problem is. And if you read through some of his rhetoric, it is just, beyond offensive. And unfortunately, he, in the late 19th century, wrote about a Prussian model of an administrative state that he thought would be best for America, and it's been growing here ever since.
Scott, I'm going to paraphrase a quote that I heard years ago. I don't recall who said it. You might know who it is. But it was something about politicians taking campaign donations from the rich and making promises to the poor by promising both to protect them from each other. Is that what we've gotten into at this point?
The way that I describe it these days is we are in a 10-10-80 nation. You have 10% on the political left who are engaged in a brutal political war against America's founding ideals. There are 10% on the right who are fighting back. And the 80%, the vast majority of Americans just want to keep their heads down and avoid getting caught in the crossfire. They believe in the founding ideals. They want to raise their family and do their jobs and move the nation forward in that way. But they've really been cut out of the process. And so, yes, at some point you get into that dynamic that you were talking about, where you're just focused on a narrow segment of the population and you're ignoring the 80%ers.
Okay, so there's the cheating, doing things that are illegal or unethical. But what about the things that may be legal but aren't within the spirit of the law? I know that you're addressing, for instance, like the redistricting thing that's happening. Missouri was one of the states that redistricted this year. Illinois did it a few years back. Texas, Florida, California, New York. You can go all over the place. And there is the what's legal versus, okay, that's not right, even if it's legal, redistricting, gerrymandering, politicians picking voters instead of voters picking representatives. Okay, it may be legal, but does that ethical question come into play in all of this as well?
It should. I talk about that a lot in my book and in the USA Today column I wrote. Only 23% of voters think that all of this redistricting is appropriate. And again, those are the 10%ers. Mm-hmm. What the problem is, right now we have a system with very, very large congressional districts, about 750,000 people per district, and only about 5% of voters have a real choice as to who represents them. I mean, in most districts, the winner has been picked by the way the map was drawn, by who the incumbent is, and things of that sort. It creates a political system that is very resistant to change. One of my favorite moments in reading about the Constitutional Convention, George Washington only left the chairman's role one time to speak on an issue from the floor. He advocated that there should be no more than 30,000 people in a congressional district. That was actually proposed as one of the amendments in the Bill of Rights, never got ratified. But this idea that they wanted people to know their congressman, have people closer to home, is something we've lost. And it's created a political system that is not responsive to voters.
The book just came out a couple days ago. It is called Out of Touch, The Elite 1% and the Battle for America's Soul, written by Scott Rasmussen, with whom we're speaking right now. By the way, co-founder of ESPN and obviously Rasmussen Polling. So last couple of minutes we've got here, Scott, the book itself, who is it for, and what am I going to take away from this? I mean, is this a message to the lawmakers and to the bureaucrats, or is this something for we, the people, the voters, to use as well. What do we take from the book itself?
The book is dedicated to the nation's 519,000 state and local elected officials. And it's really pointing to the fact that they need to claw back some power from the federal government, some ideas and ways they can do that, but also how we as individuals can support them in that effort. Another big takeaway from the book, and I think it's really important, I am an optimist. I believe that America's best days are still to come. We've been through tough times before. We'll be through tough times again, but I believe we'll get through this. And the reason that I am so optimistic is despite these elites and despite many of our political leaders who have lost touch with America's values, the vast majority of Americans still embrace them. And by the way, that's the vast majority of Republicans, the vast majority of Democrats. They want to live in a world that was similar to what our founders envisioned, a world where individuals could decide the important things in their own life, a world where positive change begins far outside the halls of political power. So the book is very specifically targeted to those state and local officials, but you know what? You run into them in the grocery store, you see your state and local officials all the time. That interaction is very important.
All right. Once again, Out of Touch. That's the name of the book. Out of Touch, the Elite 1% and the Battle for America's Soul. Scott, we follow your work and your polling. We find the book where?
The book is really easy. You may have heard of Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and order it right there. And you can find my current work at NapolitanNews.org, NapolitanNews.org, Napolitannews.org.
All right, Scott, really appreciate you being on. I found this to absolutely be fascinating. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, and once again, just find the book anywhere. I'm sure it's Barnes & Noble, Amazon, you name it. You can find it there. That was interesting.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was really fantastic because I'm looking at some of the comments. Scooter says, is Mr. Rasmussen suggesting we should increase the number of the House of Representatives? He said that George Washington thought we should have more as well. I don't know that Scott. I think Scott said we're getting away from what those ideals were. I'd have to read the book to find out if that's what he's suggesting or not.
We should put that in the book club.
Yeah, we should put it on the book club. Exactly. All right, got some thoughts on that? Let me know. Otherwise, we've got one more news dump. Everything from recalling mayors to taking your shirt off and waving it around like you just don't care at baseball games. It's all happening in St. Louis.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
When they say it like that, you know they mean business.
On News Talk STL.
You know, when the weather's really nice, one of the things that a lot of people like to do, take the dog out, take a walk, and you walk through some of these great neighborhoods all over the area because we've got so many beautiful homes in St. Louis, so many brick homes as well. And if you ever walked by and you said, man, look at that walkway, look at that retaining wall. That is gorgeous. Look at that decorative wall. Look at that seating wall on that patio. Well, you know, those folks who did that probably got their supplies from Lime Concrete Block. Mike Ferguson here for Lime Concrete Block. They have been supplying St. Louis since 1947. LimeBlock.com is where you get more information. They have what you need. Here's what you do. You look at the inspiration, you come up with the idea, you go to Lime Block, and they're going to say, here's what you need, and they're going to equip you. They'll even show you, here's how you can do it, and then you can make it happen for yourself. Go to LimeBlock.com to see samples of projects that they have supplied. Retaining walls, garden walls, you name it, precast concrete, ready-mix concrete, they've got it all. LimeBlock.com. Tell them, hey, Mike said you could help me out. Can you? They'll tell you yes, and they'll tell you how to do it.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At U.S. Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With U.S. Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
U.S. Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With U.S. Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose U.S. Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. U.S. Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
President Trump has worked out a $1.776 billion, 1776, get it, anti-weaponization fund. We're going to talk to Kaylin Deese from the Washington Examiner all about that Thursday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson always on top of his game because he's got Jerome making sure the morning show goes perfect. Don't forget Larry Connors USA, 6 to 8.
Yeah, because Jerome throws things at me.
I've shot you with a gun a few times.
He's mean.
Nerf gun. But
I mean, it works, but just saying. All right. 8:52 right now. All right, let's do another news dump here. Could that recall effort in Festus actually not make it to the ballot, even if there are enough signatures? Interesting development on this. And there is a massive data center project coming to the Show Me State, just a little bit outside of Warrenton. I got the details for you on that. It is 8:53 right now. Let's do one more news dump here.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Great American Divers.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, so the mayor and the council members are pushing back in Festus in response to the recall petition filed against them this week. A lawyer for Mayor Sam Richards, council members Mike Cook, David Boyer, and Kevin Dennis, they're arguing that the petition recall does not meet the legal requirement to be put on the ballot. Now, they're not challenging the number of signatures, which they're still going through. They are saying specifically that the complaint is that the petition does not cite a specific legal duty or law that was violated. That's what's interesting about this. Now, as you know, activists in the community are trying to recall the officials for supporting a data center project. That led to the ouster of 3 city council members this past April. Well, 4. One of them was just kind of a casualty. Yeah, 3 of them actually supported it, but they threw everybody out. So, yeah, the community, many people, looks like the majority of Festus is very angry about the data center project, but the county clerk has just over a week to certify the petition on the ballot or reject it. And the current council members and mayor are saying it shouldn't be on the ballot because we don't like how you voted is not a good enough reason. Well, likely a court's going to have to determine that to see whether or not it is a legal recall or not.
I, in spirit, support what they're doing, but from what I've read and the objection to it, I can see this not probably holding up very well.
Yeah, I've got the lawyer, or the letter from their lawyer right here. It's pretty legally persuasive, regardless of what you think of the data centers. Okay, Governor Mike Kehoe and Google announced a massive data center project in mid-Missouri. This is going to be just a little bit west of Warren, just so kind of on the edge of in the News Talk STL listening area. Corey Stark from KMOV has the story.
A $15 billion investment, and it's right next to an already approved $35 billion data center run by Amazon. So the next time you drive to Columbia on I-70, instead of farm fields, you could see these huge tech centers. They're slated to go in Montgomery County near New Florence, 20 miles west of Warrenton. The 2 data centers combined would take up nearly 2,000 acres. So just for perspective here, Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village take up 28 acres. So that is roughly the size of 70 Busch stadiums.
And where they're describing where this is going to go is farmland right now. And so it's been developed into other things. Like if you go on I-70 and you go, again, about 15, 20, 25 minutes past Warrenton, there's like a solar farm out there that replaced a farm out there. This is not quite in the Callaway area, but it's in that sort of area where you see the nuclear power plant off to the south on this as well. So it's in that mid-Missouri area where it's not in a developed area right now.
Well, the biggest complaints that I hear from Missourians is that we have way too much farms and we have way too many starter homes, and we need to get some data centers to balance it out.
Well, Governor Keogh says Google is going to pay 100% of the utility cost of running the center, and also they're going to be paying for whatever infrastructure that's going to be needed to build and expand the project. All right, the Cardinals fans started a trend that's running around all over the country, shirtless.
Oh,
tarps off. Woo! Meaning you take your shirt off and you wave it around like a rally towel. All right, it started with Stephen F. Austin Club baseball team. They were at the Cardinals game on Friday. They did it. The cameras went on them. Everybody went nuts. The Cardinals won. Now I saw it at the Battlehawks game the next day, and now it's happening all over the country. So the Cardinals are like leaning into this. The Cardinals responded by designating an official tarps off fan section at Busch Stadium.
If you're going to participate, know your body type before you decide to join it, okay? I'm just saying, those of us that are a little husky, be smart about it.
Okay, so the tarps off fan section is in the upper right field bleachers. If you want to be a part of it, sections 107, 109, and 111. All right, Cardinals get shut out by the Pirates of Busch last night. Final score 7-0. The deciding game of that series is this afternoon. First pitch at 12:15. Dustin May is going to be on the mound to start this one. After that, Cardinals start a road trip.